Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. One Piece Bounty System. Chapter 21 Lynx and Crystal. Tian Li couldn't help but think that he seems to be the same as the boss in CP9, Rob Lucci, who has the animal type, cat fruit, but Rob Lucci has a leopard type, and Yukata has the animal type, cat fruit, and a cat shape. Although it's not as good as Rob Lucci's leopard form, it's still a pretty good ability, especially for those with 6 style abilities. Yukata, after experiencing his own abilities, said happily, "Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li, I eat the animal-type cat fruit, which is lynx-shaped. It has a good increase in physical strength and speed, especially the flexibility of the body. The speed has also been greatly improved. I think it shouldn't be a problem now that I'm practicing paper painting, which requires the highest flexibility among the 6 postures." After seeing Yukata's abilities, the two of them turned to look at Kabi. They were stunned for a moment. "Where did our freckle-faced glasses man of your sister go? What's going on now?" "I saw a person appear where Kabi was standing. This man was extremely handsome, with a face as clear as a sculpture, and an angular face that was extremely handsome. She has thick black hair and a pair of slender peach blossom eyes under a pair of sword-shaped eyebrows, which are full of amorous feelings that people will fall into if they are not careful. The tall nose and moderately thick red lips now revealed a dazzling smile. I saw him dressed in white, with snow-white skin, ebony black pupils, a tall and heroic nose, and attractive red lips. Safety is like a little shot." For a moment Tian Li and Yukata looked at each other, a little at a loss. The man asked in confusion, "Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li, Colonel Yuxi, why are you looking at me like this?" It was Tian Li who reacted first. After all, he came from a previous life and had strong receptivity. But I couldn't help but wonder, could it be that this kid Kabi was eating Arita's superhuman slippery fruit? Thinking of this, Tian Li couldn't help but glance at Arita. If this is the case, it would be a tragedy for Arita. She is the golden example of the ugly counterattack goddess in One Piece. Tian Li slapped Yukata. "Hey! Wake up, Kobe must have eaten a devil fruit that has beautifying effects." Although he said this, he thought in his heart that this is too unnatural, even his hair the color has changed. It is estimated that even Kabi's biological parents would not recognize him now. Then he said to Kabi, "Use your ability and see." He gently stretched out his hand, feeling the strange energy in his body. The intention came from his heart, and when he moved his hand at will, a transparent thing suddenly grew on his palm. This thing fused from his palm and joined his hand, just like a part of his body. It slowly emerged, getting bigger and bigger, becoming more and more complete, until it finally separated from his palm. Tian Li picked it up and took a look. Crystal. The main components of crystal, quartz, and glass are actually silica. They are all hard, but they are all brittle, so they are afraid of falling. It broke when dropped. Tian Li laughed and joked, "You kid ate something good. Not only did you turn into a cute little Shota, but he also turned into crystal. When our ship runs out of cannonballs, this thing can be used as a cannonball. Haha. It really saves money. The best part is, if you don't have any money, you can still sell some crystal art." Kabi was embarrassed for a while by what he said. He looked at the glass ball in front of him, and with a thought in his mind, another crystal wall appeared in front of his eyes. He couldn't help but said to himself, "Is this crystal?" There was a clear trace of disappointment on his face. Tian Li nodded and affirmed, "This is the crystal fruit." After saying that, he walked to Kabi, pulled out his long knife, pointed the back of the knife against the crystal wall, and tapped it a few times, and heard dang dang made a metallic collision sound, and an expression of sure enough appeared on his face. Crystal fruit, as the name suggests, can create various crystals and control various crystals, just like the superhuman wax fruit of Mr. 3 Galdino under Crocodile. It can melt its own body and change its shape at will. When the ability is activated, the penis on its head will also catch fire. The candle slime produced from his body is as hard as steel after solidification, and is extremely resistant to corrosive poisons. In addition to changing its shape freely, it can trap enemies, make wax figures or prison keys and so on, plus owning a yacht powered by candles. The disadvantage is that the candles produced will melt when exposed to flame. This kind of fruit is said to be tasteless, but it is actually very tasteless. Characteristics such as being fragile, being afraid of cold, and being afraid of heat are all its most terrifying weaknesses. It's not even as good as Mr. 3 Galdino's Superman wax fruit, after all, it's only afraid of fire. Can we say that the crystal fruit is useless and useless? Not really. First, you ask him to build a defense for you, or at least block it for a while, buying you time to escape and defend. It can also be made into a piece of armor on the body. Although it is fragile, it is also very hard. It will only break if it withstands far more than it can bear. If you don't believe me, try smashing the car window. You don't have a certain amount of strength. It really can't be broken. This is true for glass, let alone crystal. And every fruit has its use value, it depends on how you use it. For example, crystals can focus energy or focus light beams. Just like the original protagonist Luffy in One Piece, rubber fruit, in the world of One Piece where strong men are everywhere, even eating natural fruits cannot guarantee invincibility. And what he ate was still the human type fruit. Relying on his own characteristics, he still developed the second gear, the third gear, and even the super powerful fourth gear. There are also various powerful moves that match the properties of rubber. Have you become the protagonist of a hot-blooded comic? Therefore, strong and weak are not born, just know how to be flexible and work hard. The weak can still become strong. Tian Li patted his shoulder, except for some special devil fruits, generally speaking, only useless people can't have useless fruits. What's more, your starting point is already much higher than that of ordinary people. You must know that our Navy's hero, Garp, can conquer the world with only one pair of fists. Kabi also understood this truth in the next moment, and a touch of perseverance flashed on his face. Coupled with his handsome and beautiful appearance, he was as beautiful as a painting. Compared with it, even the sunlight lost its color. A playful smile suddenly appeared on Tian Li's face, and he joked. If I had known that the crystal fruit was so good, I would have kept it for myself. If I had eaten it, walking on the street, a large number of women would definitely go there. It's sticky on me. Ha! Ha! It feels so good just thinking about it. He also changed his direction to comfort Kabi, saying that in the world of One Piece, women will not be in short supply as long as they have strength. Chapter 22 Meeting the Neptune class for the first time. Yutaki, okay, little guy, don't be ignorant. I saw that thing once when I was a child. It was at an auction house on a small island. It was finally sold for 1 million belly. To get a wealthy man on the island, you must know that the starting price is 2,000 million belly. That was 10 years ago, and now it is even more expensive. It is estimated that the starting price must be 6,000 million berry, not to mention the transaction price. Now that Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li has given you nothing, what else are you dissatisfied with? When Yutaka was a child, she once asked her mother out of curiosity, what kind of fruit was that? No matter how delicious it is, it doesn't cost 1 million baileys, that was 2 million baileys. For Udaki, that was an astronomical figure even now. Her mother just shook her head and said she didn't know any more. It was not until later that Yutaki grew up. When she joined the Navy and became a member of the Navy headquarters, she gradually learned from her colleagues what the round fruit he saw was. He thought, 1 million buying a fruit like this at the price of 1 belly is actually not expensive at all. Because, it is the devil fruit. Kabi was stunned and immediately exclaimed, 1 baileys. His face was full of shock. Yukata said angrily, what do you think? It took Kabi a while to come back to his senses, and he immediately knelt down to Tian Li. Kabi, will follow Tian Li to the death. Kabi's idea was simple. Tian Li not only saved him, but also allowed him to. After joining the Navy, he was given a sky-high price devil fruit. Such a huge favor can only be repaid in one lifetime. Yukata also knelt down. She was impressed by Tian Li's justice and popularity. Yukata swears to follow Tian Li to the death. Tian Li didn't expect that they would do this, but he was still very happy. His subordinate is not only a reliable person with facial paralysis. Yukata was a member of the headquarters before, but now it is different. The Neptune species exist in various sea areas in the world of One Piece. In addition to the Great Sea routes, they also have their footprints in the ordinary seas of southeast, northwest, and northwest. They are huge, like mountains, with a strange and sober appearance, several times bigger than whales. Ordinary fleets will definitely die if they encounter them, but anyone familiar with One Piece knows that these paper tigers are simply vulnerable to the strong. On the vast sea, a big ship covered with red hearts was sailing tremblingly on the sea. Why do you say trembling? Because it had been targeted by the huge Sea King. Its huge tail slapped the water desperately, causing the big ship to almost be capsized by the huge waves. The 4 Tian Li people who were practicing on the deck naturally saw it, and suddenly the ship's hull shook violently. He could only hold on to the hull to avoid falling. Arita, who was driving the ship, immediately screamed, "It's the Neptune type, it's the Neptune type, we're all going to die now." On the deck, Kabi was holding the ship tightly, and he was scared out of his mind. However, he still held back and yelled. He remembered that he wanted to be a strong man, and the strong could not be afraid. Yokota said, Lieutenant Colonel Tianli, it seems that we may encounter a Sea King type. Got it. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw a huge wave as high as a building rising next to her, and in that huge wave, Li Yu also saw a giant tail covered with fine scales. Raising his eyebrows, Tianlixi laughed. This was the first time he saw the Neptune type. I've never seen it at my uncle Akainu's place before. Humph, he snorted twice and said, I was just about to barbecue. This Neptune type is here. It's just the right time. He immediately stepped in the air and flew towards the Neptune type. Arita and Kaba's eyes almost fell. Hey! Lieutenant Colonel Tianli can fly. With the same sentence, their moods were completely different. Arita was thinking about escaping. The chances are slim again. Kabi, on the other hand, was extremely excited, thinking about when he would also learn this trick, and he was extremely yearning for it. Arriving above the Neptune class, Tianli's hill-like body attracted all his attention. How huge is that? Tianlei was amazed in his heart. Even if King Kong compares with it, the gap between adults and children will be the same. He didn't realize it before when he watched One Piece animations and comics, but this time he realized that the One Piece class was not that easy to deal with after being there, because they are so huge. A few scales are as big as a human being. This is still the Neptune type in the offshore sea. The Neptune type in the windless zone would be even larger. Tianli couldn't help but think that it seemed that this time, he was going to use all his strength to attack, and Yuan Shen was on guard. At this time, the Sea King had also noticed Tianli's uninvited guest and looked towards him. Facing the Neptune swimming towards him, Tianli's face straightened. Out of instinct, he felt that the power of the Sea King was extraordinary, and the pressure on him made him sure that this was probably the most powerful enemy he had ever encountered. He quickly pulled out Shueji, and first led the Sea King species away. After all, it was too close to his own ship. Their ship must have been destroyed before the Sea King species could be defeated. But before it was too far away, the water wave behind him hit him. Tianli didn't expect that the Sea King was so impatient, and he immediately swung his sword. The thunder that had no support in the air was thrown away, but it was not injured. It's a pity that my sword skills have only just reached the realm of cutting iron. It takes a while to build up the momentum to execute this sword, otherwise I will definitely defeat the Sea King in one move. Fortunately, the direction Tianli was flying was exactly in the opposite direction of the ship. Seeing that it was getting further and further away from the ship, Tianli was able to let go and fight. Since sword skills are incompetent, then fists can be used. The Sea King type also rushed in front of Li Yu. At this time, Tianli also saw clearly that it was a monster similar to a sea dog. When Li Yu saw him, it also saw Li Yu, waving its front paws towards Tianlei and rushing towards him. Its speed is extremely fast, and it never dodges the thunder. Luffy, who just went out to sea, can easily take down a Neptune-like creature. Tianli was not as good as he was now as he was when Luffy first set off. Tianli Yahu's body trembled, and he stepped forward and punched him. It was a head-on collision. Kabi, who was in the distance, had long been stunned by Tianli's move, one claw and one punch, one big and one small. What a strong contrast. Any normal person would know what the result would be if the two collide. But Yokota is not too worried. After all, when he and other adults were performing tasks in the headquarters, he had seen many people who were looking down on Neptune. She also knew that Lieutenant Colonel Tianli would definitely win. Chapter 23 Arriving at Ziluabia village. One large and one small, with a strong contrast, they collided in the air. Bang! But the result was far better than they expected. Originally, in order to attack the Sky Thunder, half of the giant body of the Sea King had been exposed to the water, but under this blow, was heavily sunk, leaving only one head above the water. There will be a pained expression on the face, and I think the injury is quite serious. Tianli, on the other hand, was once again knocked away and reached 1,000 meters in the air before he stabilized his figure. However, he was still not injured, but he was knocked away again because he couldn't use the force in the air and couldn't use the moon steps freely. At the same time, Tianli looked at his fists, and it seemed that his strength had greatly increased again. I couldn't help but check my information in the bounty system. Host Sokka Tianli. Strength, 500, the strength of an ordinary person is 1 and can attack with 1 strength. Speed, 520, the speed of an ordinary person is 1. Defense, 550, an ordinary person's defense is 1 and can withstand an attack of 1 force without being injured. Physical skills, unknown fishman karate, elementary level. Navy 6 style, top notch. Swordsmanship, elementary level of Wuming 1 sword style. Marksmanship, none. Devil fruit abilities, none. Overlord color domineering, none. Armed color domineering, no. Knowledge color domineering, no. Upon seeing it, Tian Li immediately became excited. He had passed 100 in all 3 items. Now he is a superhuman even without using any moves. This is the real Superman. His strength is the worst, probably due to practicing Wuming Fishman Karate and Wuming Ito style. The speed is 520. It seems that these 6 movements are strong. Shao and Moon Step have not been fully refined to the point where they can be used freely, but they have increased so much speed. The Wuming Human Karate and the Wuming One Sword style are only increased to 500, and the gap is indeed huge. It seems that I need to find good sword skills and speed up the process of boxing moves, otherwise I will not be able to keep up. The most powerful thing is that the defense is 550, which is why Tian Li learned the iron block best among the 6 moves. Of course, these data are only in the normal state, and the moves will be even stronger. It already has the strength of CP9. Now Tian Li's confidence has skyrocketed. He immediately dived towards the Neptune class, and when he was about to collide with the Neptune class, he launched a -watt roundhouse kick with all his strength. The force of the swooping of 1,000 meters, coupled with the full blow of the Sky Thunder, directly knocked out the Neptune type. The same Neptune type sank suddenly. And the sea water around it also formed a whirlpool with the Neptune type at the center. Kabi and Arita on the boat were completely stupid. They didn't understand that this was something humans could do. Now Arita has no idea of running away. That Neptune type is a good example, and she doesn't want to be treated like this. Even Yukata was stunned for a moment. Only then did he understand Tian Li's strength. Such strength ranks at the forefront among major generals. After a while, the sea surface returned to calm, and the bodies of the Neptune species also surfaced bit by bit. Looking at the huge body of the Neptune type, Tian Li couldn't help but think that there would be no shortage of meat during this period. Tian Li has not tasted the meat of the Sea King type yet. I used a snow walker to cut off a large piece of the Neptune creature, which probably weighed several tons. I picked it up and dropped it onto the ship. Arita is not. Needless to say, Yukata only knows how to sail a boat, so naturally he is not good at cooking, and it goes without saying that Tian Li himself is not good at it. So I can only deal with it by someone who has been a cook on Alrita's ship for a while. Kabit didn't refuse, and immediately brought out a plate of Neptune salad, followed by sauced Neptune and charcoal grilled Neptune. The 4 of them sat at the dining table and enjoyed the meal beautifully, feeling really satisfied. After all, Kabit, an unprofessional guy, can make the Neptune type taste like this, which is already very good. Now Tian Li couldn't help but think about the candidate for the future chef. Sanji was a good candidate in the first place. Not only did he cook great food, but his strength and qualifications were also top-notch. But he is Luffy's partner. In his previous life, Tian Li was very fond of the Straw Hats, and he really couldn't bear to tear them down. The most important thing is that Sanji is still a person with obvious shortcomings. He will be directly coded when he encounters a woman. If he were not the main supporting character, he would definitely die countless times. It seems to be a real trouble. Forget it, just look for it yourself first. If it doesn't work, ask your cheap uncle Akina to send one over. The days passed by in a hurry, and the sailing career of Lei Tian, Yukata, Kabi and the fat woman Arita continued, and they were not far away from Lei Tian's goal. Ziluabu village. One pirate group after another was eliminated on the road, and 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these days of swords and blood, they have grown more than a little bit, and each have their own reputations. And Kabi has said goodbye to his original weakness and crybaby. He can now blow his beard and glare with Arita, and has completely become a man. The god of killing, Tian Lei, is also called the god of justice, Tian Lei, because Tian Lei not only fights pirates, but also all criminal things and people are within the scope of his attack. Navigator, Demon Cat Utaki, Crystal Beauty, Kirby, Iron Rod, Arita. Their names are known to everyone in the East China Sea. Except for Aaron, a guy who has seen the world, all the other pirates in the East China Sea are frightened by the news. The number of people in the East China Sea who want to become pirates has suddenly decreased a lot. The prestige of the East China Sea Navy has also improved a lot. Soon, West Lob Village was in sight. After boarding West Lob Village, we also saw Usopp's 3 younger brothers Onion, Green Pepper and Carrot, and of course Usopp, the big talker. In his previous life, Tian Li didn't understand the role Usopp played in the Straw Hats. In the beginning, he competed with Luffy for the captain's position. He couldn't understand his own strength at all, let alone himself. Status. It can be said that Tianli likes all the Straw Hats, except of course the unknown Usopp. So Tianli was not interested in saying anything to them, and went directly to the big house in Zuluabia village. The person who opened the door was Meili, the housekeeper of the big house in Zuluabia village. People in this character's previous life still liked him very much. After all, his loyalty to Kaya was very rare. Meili, who does this naval lieutenant colonel come to see? Tianli, we are here to see your Miss Kaya, please come out and see her. After hearing this, Meili turned around and called Miss Kaya. After all, in the East China Sea, a naval lieutenant colonel had a very high status. After a while, Meili brought Miss Kaya to Tianli. Tianli winked at Yukata and the others, and Yukata and the others immediately understood and surrounded Meili and Miss Kaya to protect them. Tianli smiled and said to Miss Kaya, "Hello, I am Lieutenant Colonel Tianli, from the Navy headquarters, now stationed in Rog Town. Today we are here to capture Beiji Locke. That is, a few years ago the one who comes to you." Chapter 24 Fighting Locke. Kaya looked confused and said, "Are you talking about Butler Gulahano?" Tianli, "That's right, that's him, but he's not." "What's his name?" "Gulahano, but Beiji Locke, a pirate with a super high IQ and a lot of evil. The bounty is as high as 1,600 million berry." "Yes. Let's go. Captain of the Black Cat Pirates," Tianli said at the end, looking at a big tree. "If you look carefully, you will find a person hiding in the shadow of the big tree." At this time, Beiji Locke came out and did not hide anymore, because he knew that Tianli and the others must have mastered enough information to find this place. But he didn't expect that Tianli came from a previous life, and he didn't have any information about it. Luo Wuong pushed his glasses with his palm and said, "I really didn't expect that I would be found by you after hiding for so many years. It seems that there are still smart people in the Navy." Tianli smiled and said, "Do you think you are the only one with a high IQ? If this was not the East China Sea, and you only had a reward of 1,600 baileys, and the Navy headquarters wouldn't pay attention, you would have been discovered long ago." Both Kaya and Meili looked in disbelief. They really didn't expect that the usually gentle housekeeper Gulahano was actually a pirate. Especially Meili. Kaya was still young at the time and didn't know. But Mary, he had heard the rumors about Beiji Locke, and he was a heinous guy. He immediately protected Kaya behind him. Even if there were Yukata and 3 others protecting him outside, he would not remain indifferent to things that threatened Kaya. Locke slowly took out his weapon, the 10-blade cat claw, and put it on his hand. He looked at Tianli and the others and said, "Originally, I thought about taking action for a while. But now I can only take action right away. I will kill you all, tremble." After saying that, he suddenly got angry, opened his hands wide, formed 10 long knives, and stabbed Tianli at the same time. Tianli smiled disdainfully. His speed was not slow. How could a low-level attack like Locke hurt him? He immediately drew out Shuezo and rushed forward. In an instant, their weapons were fiercely slashed together. But how could Locke's strength be Tianli's opponent? After a stalemate, he was knocked away. Even the 10-blade cat's claw weapon was broken and only 3 were left. Locke has never been out of the East China Sea. This is the first time he has encountered such a powerful opponent. Although he was not seriously injured in this head-on confrontation, he was still stunned. He knew that he could only win with absolute moves now. So he used the silent step without hesitation and attacked Tianli. But he underestimated Tianli too much. When he used silent step, Tianli also used shaver. The moment Locke's attack came close, he disappeared from the place and appeared behind Locke. But Locke's silent steps were also very fast. He only felt his eyes blurred. Locke's body seemed to have formed a phantom, and different places appeared between several ups and downs. Such a fast speed forced Tianli to be more vigilant. Tianli did not dare to neglect, and slowly fell to the ground, and Shuezo was also sheathed. With his legs spread wide and his waist lowered, he held the scabbard with one hand and the handle with the other. A trace of solemnity flashed across Tianli's face. Locke also stopped on the opposite side and sneered, "Your speed is also good? But you can't attack me. Let's see if I send you to hell." After saying that, he used the silent step again and disappeared in the original place. Land. Tianli did not move and kept the posture of drawing the sword. Locke's movement speed is very fast for ordinary people and difficult to catch with the naked eye. However, for Tianli who can use shaver, he can still see a little bit of his figure. Tianli is waiting for the best time to attack, and this opportunity is at the moment when Locke attacks Tianli. Seeing that Locke's figure was already close in front of him, and the best time had come, Tianli shouted, "Draw the knife!" That's right, it is Wu Ming's one sword style 3 moves, one word slash, draw knife in the water. Tianli's figure flashed past, and when Tianli and Locke appeared in front of everyone again, they had changed positions and stood back to back. At this time, Tianli quickly put Shuizhou into the scabbard, waved his right hand back, and shot a bullet made of water at Locke, directly penetrating Locke's heart. The bounty system prompts that the host kills the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, Beiji Locke, with a bounty of 1,600 million. The reward is to draw intermediate physical skills, sword skills, shooting, weapons, Superman-type devil fruits, animal-type devil fruits, and armed colors at once. The domineering awakening factor and the domineering factor of seeing and hearing. Whether to extract. In the previous duel between Tianli and Locke, Tianli's sword-drawing move had already hit Locke's chest. Yukata and the others had already seen Locke's chest, and a huge wound had been cut by Tianli. Locke was already on the verge of collapse and was obviously dead, but Tianli knew that Locke was not dead yet, because no system text appeared in his mind, so Tianli quickly added a gun wave. Now that I have seen the system text, it is indeed correct. The previous Locke is not dead yet, no, now is not the time to extract. At this time, another system text appeared in my mind. Bounty system prompts, the system has been updated. The host will only be rewarded when the kill bounty is equal to greater than its own strength. The host is now above -million and below -million. The host is now only rewarded for killing more than -million. After reading this, Tianli was immediately glad that he did not come directly to find Locke, otherwise he would not be able to get the reward. Fortunately, I have already obtained 23 opportunities to draw generals before. They were all obtained by killing some small pirates. The lowest bounty was only 10 baileys. But it's right to think about it. If I become stronger in the future and focus on these small fish and shrimps, there won't be an endless supply of devil fruits. That's not just a matter of minutes to form an army of devil fruit users, but it will be a bit difficult to earn rewards in the future. After bidding farewell to Kaya and Meili, Tianli and his friends set off for the strongest pirate in the East China Sea. That's right, it's the Fishman Dragon Pirates, and the bounty is 2,000 million baileys. And it's very possible to see Nami, the little thief cat that made all the otakus drool in her previous life, and of course her sister. Hey, thinking of this, Tianli couldn't help but think that Nami's sister Lu Sujao seemed pretty good too. Not accepting the little thief cat Nami was because she was afraid that it would have too much impact on the plot, which would make her lose the advantage of grasping the plot, but Lusco didn't care. I decided that if Lu Sujao was a good cook, I would definitely fool him. Chapter 25 The Great Harvest. After Tianli returned to his captain's room in the evening, the bounty system began to draw prizes. The bounty system prompts that the host now has 23 primary lottery opportunities and 1 intermediate lottery opportunity. Start reading the data. Start drawing, and you will get 2 sets of unnamed elementary boxing skills, 2 sets of unnamed elementary spear skills, 1 Superman-type devil fruit, 2 animal-type devil fruits, and 1 set of unnamed elementary jujutsu moves, entanglement, soft body, soft fist. A set of Wu Ming Ito-style swordsmanship moves, jumping slash, flying slash, blast. Acquire the intermediate swordsmanship of Tatsuki move, sheature cutting, using the armament color haki to strengthen the attack power of the katana, and slashing at the opponent with lightning speed. There are a lot of other miscellaneous things. At this point, Tianli's mouth was watering, 1 Superman-type devil fruit and 2 animal-type devil fruits. Although Tianli also knows the classification of this devil fruit, like Kaba's crystal fruit, it has many obvious shortcomings, so it is elementary. As for Yukata's animal type, cat fruit, lynx form and Rob Lucci's animal type, cat fruit, leopard form in CP9, there is no need to say more about lynx and leopard. In other words, the weakest animal type among the same category is the junior level. Although I can't use it myself, it couldn't be better for my younger brothers. You must know that the qualifications of the 2 younger brothers who let me suffer from facial paralysis are also good. With this devil fruit, it will be even better. There seem to be a lot of devil fruits. I can't use them all. Tianli couldn't help but smile bitterly. I guess he is the only one in the world of One Piece who has a headache because he can't use up all the devil fruits. There are also 2 sets of unnamed elementary fist techniques. There are 2 sets of Wuming basic spear techniques plus the previous set of Wuming basic jujutsu and Wuming one sword style swordsmanship. I also practice Fishman karate and Wuming one sword style swordsmanship by myself. I can definitely create a skill grid on my own ship. It's still good for those who can't practice the 6 postures to practice. This time the harvest is a bit big, no matter if you wait until your own people are used up, it would be a good idea to give the extra to your cheap uncle or warring states in exchange for some benefits. Tian Li started to drool again. You must know how to use it after awakening the armed domineering force, although to see key intermediate swordsmanship only has 1 move to kill Shijir, which is simple enough, there is also a way to strengthen the katana using armament and haki. With this move, if you have armed haki, you can turn the sword into a black sword with armed haki just like Roro Zoro. Ding! Congratulations to the host for officially entering the intermediate level of above -million and below -million. You will be rewarded with a gift pack for newbies. Open? Tian Li's face was full of doubts. Wasn't the novice gift package given to him at the beginning? Why are you giving it now? Is it possible that the system thinks that only those who have reached the intermediate level are novices, and those who have not reached the intermediate level are not even novices? Open. Ding! Congratulations to the host for opening the novice gift pack and winning a specific draw for the intermediate level, Armed Color Haki Awakening Factor, Insight Color Haki Awakening Factor, Intermediate Superman Devil Fruit, and Intermediate Animal Devil Fruit. Extract or not. Tian Li is now completely crazy with joy. Compared with before, this reward is the key. Compared with this, all the previous gains are nothing. Smoke, why don't you smoke? Ding! The host novice gift pack has started to be drawn, and you will get the Armed Color Haki Awakening Factor. Do you want to use it? The Armed Color Domineering Awakening Factor actually turned out to be the Armed Color Domineering Awakening Factor. Among these, this was what Tian Li wanted the most. Once you have Armed Color Haki, your attack and defense will immediately increase greatly. Use. As soon as the word use flashed through Tian Li's mind, his head immediately felt like a splitting headache due to the Domineering Awakening Factor. At the same time, he felt as if his head had been violently beaten and swollen, and then he fainted. When Tian Li woke up, there was already a ray of sunlight shining into the room. The first thing Tian Li did when he woke up was to check the changes in his body. After a while, Tian Li stretched out his fists. At this time, his fists had turned black. Not bad, Tian Li had initially mastered the armed domineering force. Unfortunately, he could only barely protect his fists and could only be attached to them. Superior. It seems that I have to ask my uncle, General Akainu, for the training method of domineering, otherwise I will be too slow to figure out the training on my own, but I don't know if this domineering awakening factor can be used on others. Ding! The bounty system reminds that everything in the bounty system can be used by others. As long as the host comes into contact with other people's bodies, the domineering awakening factor can be entered into other people's bodies without others noticing. Tian Li was stunned. This was going against the will of heaven. Think about the situation in the future when all of your crew members and partners are all haki users, even dual haki users of armed color and wisdom color. What kind of scene will that be? Thinking of this thunder, I couldn't help but look up to the sky and roar. Chapter 26. The Navy headquarters was shocked. Hearing the roar of Tian Li, Yokota, Kabi, and Arita thought something had happened, and immediately rushed to Tian Li's captain's cabin. They couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief when they found that Tian Li was fine. Tian Li looked at the 3 of them, smiled, and then said to Yokota, "You should have the phone bug of Marshal Sengoku." Only now did he realize that he didn't have the phone bug of his cheap uncle General Akainu, so I can only take advantage of the warring states marshal. Yokota immediately took out a blue phone bug. When you come out of the headquarters, you will be assigned a phone bug that can directly contact the headquarters. Tian Li, then help me dial the number of Marshal of the Warring States. In fact, Tian Li was quite speechless. Only then did he realize that he didn't know how to use the phone bug at all. Yokota did not doubt that he had it, and immediately dialed Marshal Sengoku's phone number. After a while, the call was answered, and Marshal Sengoku's voice rang out on the phone. Tian Li took a look and found that this phone bug was almost the same as the phone in his previous life. Phone bug, pineapple. Pineapple. Hello. I'm Sengoku, who are you? Tian Li immediately said to the phone bug, "Hello, Marshal of the Warring States. I am Tian Li." Warring States? Oh. It's Tian Li. You've done a good job during this period. Now in the East China Sea, there are almost no pirates. Is there anything today? Tian Li, there are indeed a few things that need to be reported today. The first thing is to ask the headquarters to order the arrest of Colonel Menka. Why? Warring States' words were full of doubts. Tian Li, because just yesterday, Beiji Lok died in my hands. He paused and then said, when I first entered the East China Sea, I met other members of the Black Cat Pirates, the hypnotist Zango and Butch and Sam. They also died in my hands, but his little Luo is now in prison in Rog Town. I learned from their mouths that Beiji Lok was not dead yet. I thought they were lying to me. But just in case, I ran away. I didn't expect Beiji Lok to be hiding in Ziluobia village in the East China Sea. Tian Li made up a reason. After all, it was troublesome to know how to know that Beiji Lok was not dead. Fortunately, he had met other members of the Black Cat Pirates before, and he happened to use them as backup. The phone bug was silent for a while, and then made the voice of Warring States again, I know, I will send someone down. You said there are a few things. If there is anything else, let me tell you. Also, I fought with Beiji Lok yesterday and awakened the armed haki. Now I can only use it with my fists. When I came out, I forgot to ask my uncle for a phone bug, so I can only ask the marshal if you have any methods of cultivating and using armed color haki. Feel free to bring me the cultivation method and usage of seeing and hearing color haki as well. I seem to have some ideas too. For the sake of the future. No trouble, in the end Tian Li boasted about his awesomeness, and he also learned how to cultivate and use the domineering power of seeing and hearing. Phone bug, what? Phone bug, what? Phone bug, what? Because the phone bug could only reach one person's voice at a time, he kept saying the same sentence with various expressions and tones. This time he was so busy that he couldn't help but take a breath after finishing speaking. Gas. Tian Li looked at the funny phone bug and secretly thought that the Warring States person was not the same person. After the phone bug was confused for a while, he was silent for a while, and once again said in the voice of the Warring States period, I will send someone to Rog Town to learn how to cultivate and use the domineering power of armed color and wisdom color. Destroy it immediately after that, do you understand? And please wait by the phone bug and don't walk away. I will talk to you on the phone again after a while. Tian Li couldn't help but smile. It seemed that this time the Warring States period was also shocked. Thinking about it, a person who had practiced for less than a year had awakened his domineering energy. He must be unique among the entire navy. Kabi and Arita asked with puzzled faces, what is domineering? But Yukata knows it, this is the symbol of a major general. Of course, it does not mean that all major generals have domineering energy, but it means that if you awaken your domineering energy and practice a little bit, you will at least have the strength of a major general. And Yukata knew that Tian Li's strength itself was that of a major general. Of course, he was the weaker one among major generals. Only those young masters who were born into famous naval families would be defeated by Tian Li. But now it's different. Tian Li has awakened his armed domineering power, and his attack power is greatly increased. With the iron block in the 6 moves that Tian Li is good at, his defense power is also greatly increased. His strength suddenly went from being the weakest among the major generals to becoming the most beautiful one among the major generals. Discussions also started on the Warring States side, and naturally the subject of discussion was Tian Lei. Of course, he was not the only one here during the Warring States period. Lieutenant General Huan He, Lieutenant General Garp, General Kizaru and Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel were among the ones who just exclaimed. Warring States said to the 4 of them, you also know the talent of Tian Li. Now he has just destroyed Beiji Lok, who had a bounty of 1,600 million, and realized his domineering power. He also made the pirates in the East China Sea obedient. It has strength, qualifications and military exploits, but what military position are we going to give it now? Let's talk about it. Karp said that if he wanted to do this, it would be useful or not, he might as well eat my donuts, so he didn't pay attention to Warring States at all. General Kizaru drank the coffee in his hand with a lazy look on his face. Today's coffee was really good, there was quite an attitude of wanting to fight the coffee to the end, so I continued to drink talisman coffee as if I hadn't heard Sengoku's words. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel is not a fool. This boy Tian Li is Akainu's perverted nephew. If he exaggerates his military position, he will feel like hugging his thigh. To put it mildly, maybe our absolutely righteous General Akainu will talk to himself about life and ideals, but he still wants to live a few more years, so of course it's better not to get involved in such a troublesome matter, so Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel wiped the long sword in his hand very seriously, as if he wanted to wipe it out. Warring States looked quite speechless. Why didn't he share his burdens with someone? In the end, he could only look at Lieutenant General He, who had not yet spoken. Lieutenant General Crane does not have as many worries as Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel. After all, he is of the same generation as Warring States and Garp, so where is his seniority? What's more, her relationship with Sengoku and Garp is extraordinary. Lieutenant General He thought for a while and said, with Tian Li's current strength, he can be directly promoted to Rear Admiral, but his qualifications in the Navy are still relatively young, and his military achievements are only a bounty of 1,600 million, which Locke can pull off. There is still something missing to be promoted to Major General with such military exploits. But for a senior colonel, in terms of strength alone, it is a bit low. I think he is just right to be promoted to Brigadier General. As long as he makes a few more military exploits and then be promoted to Major General, it will be perfect, and others can't say it. What are you talking about? Chapter 27 Too Many Devil Fruits. After hearing Lieutenant General He's suggestion, Warring States dialed Tian Li's phone number. Pineapple. Pineapple. Hello. I'm Warring States. Is Tian Li here? Tian Li couldn't help but curse nonsense in his mind. Didn't you ask me to wait by the side just now? He replied helplessly, Marshal of the Warring States period, I'm here. Phone bug. Now, in the name of Marshal of the Navy Headquarters, I am promoted to Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li to Brigadier General. I will send someone to deliver the military uniforms. Tian Li, yes. He immediately skipped over the Colonel and Senior Colonel. This Warring States period is quite generous. Warring States, well that's it. Wait a minute. Tian Li shouted immediately, what's going on, why is it only you? Warring States, is there anything else? Tian Li, there is also Colonel Uxi who has been fighting with me. Should I mention it? There is also a guy with facial paralysis who has made great contributions to protecting Rog Town. Should I also mention it? Finally, I recruited a new subordinate, and his strength is not bad. Give it to a second lieutenant. On the other end of the phone, Warring States and others were all stunned. This was the first time someone had asked them for a military position. Several people looked at each other. This matter had never happened to the Warring States period. After thinking about it for a while, they still didn't refuse. After all, Tian Li had brought them a huge shock. Phone bug, with Utaki's strength, let's promote him to Lieutenant Colonel. Tian Li immediately started bargaining, the Lieutenant Colonel is lower, give it to a Colonel. Now Yukata is an animal type, cat fruit, lynx form ability user, her strength has greatly increased. Now she is practicing the 6th form of the Navy Hui. I guess it's not a big problem. The other end of the phone fell silent immediately. After a while, the phone came over and said, okay, Yukata will be promoted to Colonel, and Captain Fujiwara will be promoted to Major. Your new little brother will be a second lieutenant. Tian Li, why has it been reduced again? My little brother, Kabi is a superhuman crystal fruit user. Isn't a second lieutenant a little too arrogant? Phone bug, ha. 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 Warring States, this little guy said you were arrogant. Hearing this, he knew it was Garp who was talking. Phone bug, eat your donuts. After a pause, he said, Commodore Tian Li, in such a short time, you got an animal-type cat fruit for Yukata? You also received a superhuman type crystal fruit users? When did devil fruits become so common in the East China Sea? Warring States was quite confused. Even if their entire navy wanted to acquire a devil fruit, it would not be easy to recruit a person with abilities. After all, this devil fruit too rare. Maybe it's just my luck. While I was walking on the sea, a package fell from the sky into my captain's cabin. When I opened it, I found that it actually contained 6 devil fruits. Do you think I'm lucky? There's no way to explain the devil fruit that came out of the bounty system. Tian Li can only find an excuse to be invincible. I am so lucky. When people ask me in the future, they will all tell me that I am lucky and have a good character. If you don't believe me, pick up a devil fruit and show it to me. The phone bug immediately fell silent, thinking that the Warring States period was so thunderous. After a while, the phone bug thought again, what kind of devil fruits are these? It was originally 3 animal-type devil fruits and 3 Superman-type devil fruits, but Yukata ate one. Kirby ate one. So there are 2 of each. There are too many devil fruits, and they are not good. No one will eat them. Tian said very pretentiously. After hearing Tian Li's words, Yukata, Kabi, and Arita, who already knew the value of devil fruit, were all confused. On the other side of the phone bug, at this time, Warring State's head was covered with black lines. Garp, on the other hand, had his eyes wide open and his mouth wide open. His beloved Tian Tian fell out of his mouth without even noticing. You can imagine how surprised they were. Afterwards, if Tian Li finally showed off, he would be quite shocked. The other people are not much better. These are 6 devil fruits, a whole bunch of words. The last time we mobilized the entire navy, we could only find this number. And this guy actually said he fell from the sky while walking in the sea. They are the same people, but the gap is too big. Is it really a matter of character? Have to. These top navy officials have begun to doubt their own character. More than 10 minutes had passed when the phone bug rang Sengoku's voice again. These 4 devil fruits from Tian Li have been handed over to the headquarters. What do you think? Tian Li thought about it and said, I'll leave 1 Superman-type devil fruit, and you can send someone to get the other 3. By the way, what about Kaba's captain? This time Sengoku answered quite readily, no problem, from now on, he will be an honorable naval captain. After hanging up the phone, Warring States turned his head and said, Flying Squirrel, please take a trip. Yes. I just want to take a look at this new naval genius. Flying Squirrel said with a smile. Half a month later, Tian Li and his party finally arrived at the port of Kokoyasi village, where Tian Li saw a colonel-level warship. The only naval captain who can come here is, without even thinking about it, Captain Mouse, one of the 2 useless colonels in One Piece. Tian Li and others immediately boarded the warship. The navy who stayed on the warship found someone and immediately surrounded Tian Li and others. Who are you and why did you board our warship? They did not dare to act rashly because I saw Tian Li and the others were also wearing navy uniforms, especially Tian Li and Yukata, a lieutenant colonel and a major. Of course, this is because the rear admiral epaulets have not yet been delivered, so the rank is still the same as before. I am Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li from the Navy headquarters. I am currently stationed in Rog Town. This time I came to capture Colonel Mouse because he colluded with the evil dragons of the mermaid pirates here to oppress the people. Now tell me about Colonel Mouse. I can forgive you for your whereabouts, otherwise you will be punished with the same crime. Tian Lei said rather domineeringly. When the Navy heard this, the Lieutenant Colonel of the headquarters immediately put down their weapons. You must know that the Navy from the headquarters all upgrade themselves to a higher level, so the Lieutenant Colonel in the headquarters and the Colonel outside are on the same level. What's more, for more than a month, the name of Killing God Tian Li has been resounding throughout the East China Sea, and they naturally know it. A captain came out. Report to Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li that Colonel Mouse has gone to Coco West Village. Tian Li, okay. You stay where you are, and you are not allowed to leave without permission before I come back, otherwise you will be severely punished. Do you hear me? All Navy, yes, Lieutenant Colonel. Only then was Tian Li satisfied, leading Yukata, Kabi, and Arita towards Coco West Village, and soon they arrived at Coco West Village. Chapter 28 Nami and Nakajao. From a distance, I heard, you hateful Navy, you are not welcome here. You untouchables, how dare you resist the Navy? An angry shout came, followed immediately by another, arrest them all. At this time, the 4 people from Tian Li also arrived. Tian Li said, hello. Are you Colonel Mouse? When people on both sides saw the sudden appearance of Tian Li, the 4 of them couldn't help but be stunned. The villagers thought that Colonel Mouse had come to help again and glared at him. Tian Li saw the village policeman Kensuk, the thief cat Nami, and Nakako at the front of the villagers. It seemed that they were all here. The 3 of them also noticed Tian Li's gaze and couldn't help but look at Tian Li warily. Colonel Mouse, who are you? Don't you know that you have to salute your superior when you see him? Yukata, we are Commodore Tian Li stationed in Rog Town. I am Colonel Yukata, and Captain Kabi, both are from the Navy headquarters. So if you want to salute, you also salute our Commodore Tian Li. Colonel Mouse couldn't help but shrink his pupils when he heard that Tian Li and the others were from the Navy headquarters and were still Commodores. But he immediately said, how do I know whether what you said is true or false? After all, you are wearing the uniforms of Lieutenant Colonel and Major, and the other 2 are sailors. Tian Li, I just want to ask. Are you Colonel Mouse? Why are you wasting so much talk? Colonel Mouse, I am. Tian Li, that's good. After saying that, he immediately shouted, shaving and disappeared in an instant. Colonel Mouse saw what Tian Li did. No matter how stupid he was, Colonel Mouse felt something was wrong and immediately became alert. Unfortunately, his strength was too poor. Tian Li had already appeared above his head. Tian Li swung his body horizontally and did a roundhouse kick in the air, coing Colonel Mouse directly. After landing, Tian Li said to the remaining subordinates of Colonel Mouse, "I am Commodore Tian Li of the Navy headquarters. I received a notice that Colonel Mouse colluded with the evil dragon of the Fishman pirates to expropriate the villagers of Cocoa West Village. Kill at will and come here to arrest you. I think you are also forced by Colonel Mouse. Put down your weapons now and I can forget the blame, otherwise I will punish you severely." Colonel Mouse's men immediately put down their weapons. They were not stupid. The strongest among them, Colonel Mouse, could not block a move, not to mention that this was a commodore from the Navy headquarters. "Tian Li, Kirby, Arita, tie them up." Then he said to the village policeman Kensuk, "You should be the village policeman of this village. Please help look after them. Also, I want to ask Burm, where do you live?" The village policeman Kensuk has not yet reacted to the changes just now. They heard Belmar immediately and couldn't help but ask immediately, "Are you looking for Belmar?" When Nami and Nakajao heard their mother's name, they immediately stared at Tian Li. "Tian Li, yes, my elder is a colleague of Belmir. We once fought against pirates all over the world. No, I came to the East China Sea to station. My elder specially asked me to come and see Belmir. He said that Belmir a respectable navy. My elders only knew that Belmir's hometown was in Cocoa West Village, so I checked out Cocoa West Village as soon as I came to the East China Sea. Unexpectedly, after a while, I found out that Captain Mouse, a scum of the navy, and the evil dragon a group of people, here I am. I came here this time to deal with them. And of course, meet Belmir, but it's strange, didn't Belmir take action?" Tian Li turned on the deception mode. Then he bowed deeply to all the villagers in Kokoyasi village and said, "I'm sorry, we are late. We have made you suffer so much. I will deal with the evil dragon group immediately and let you return to your previous state of a peaceful life." Village policeman Kensuk, "So that's it." He glanced at Nami and Nakajao, and then said, "These two Belmir daughters, let them take you to see Belmir. I'll help you watch people." Tian Li said to Nami and Nakajao, "I am Tian Li. Nami and Nakajao, I am Sister Nakajao, and I am Sister Nami. Come with us." The four people from Tian Li, Nami, and Nakajao quickly arrived at Belmir's cemetery. Tian Li immediately pretended to be confused and asked, "Belmir is all ready?" Nyokijao said sadly, "Yes, I went there a few years ago." Nami said with a vicious look on her face, "It was all done by that hateful evil dragon." As she spoke, her eyes were filled with tears and she was extremely sad. Tian Li first bowed to Belmir's tomb. This bow came from Tian Li's heart. In his previous life, Tian Li had great admiration for Belmir. The Great Mother. Then he said to Nami and Nakajao, "Don't worry, I will definitely take down the evil dragon group to avenge Belmir and all the people who were harmed in Cocoa West Village." Nami's face was extremely complicated, changing several times, and said to Tian Li, "I know you have good intentions, but the evil dragon is too strong. You are no match for me, and you will only die if you go." Tian Li laughed when he heard this. "Nami, the East China Sea is the weakest place, and we are the Navy headquarters from the strongest Great Channel. The evil dragon is very strong in the East China Sea, but when it comes to the Great Channel he is nothing." To increase his persuasion, Tian Li said to Yukata and Kabi, "Show them your abilities." Yukata immediately turned into a catwoman, and Kirby waved his hand and a small house made of crystal appeared above Belmir, covering Belmir's tomb, and waved a crystal tombstone. Appearing again. Nami and Nakajao were first shocked, then incredulous, and finally turned into fear. The look in their eyes at Yukata and Kabi also turned into looking at monsters. After all, people are afraid of unknown things. Tian Li smiled and comforted, "Don't be afraid. They ate something called a devil fruit and gained their current abilities. I asked them to show it to you to make you believe that we have enough strength to solve the evil problem." Dragon and his gang. Nakajao finally came back to her senses, while Nami was thoughtful, suddenly patting her head and asking, "Devil fruit, is it the legendary magical fruit that costs -million apiece?" Tian Li was stunned after hearing this. Nami still knows about devil fruits, it's right to think about it, now that she is a thief cat, running around the East China Sea, she has seen a lot, you know, isn't it strange? Tian Li said truthfully, "Yes, it is this kind of fruit, but 1 million is just the starting price. The final transaction price in the auction house is often much higher. Nyoki Jo was stunned when she heard this. She really didn't understand how a fruit could fetch such a sky-high price. Chapter 29 Arita fights the evil dragon Cotter. Tian Li, now you believe in our strength. Can you take us to find the evil dragon group of the Fishman Pirates? Nami and Nakajao looked at each other and said, okay, we will take you there. Under the leadership of Nami and Nakajao, the 4 people from Tian Li soon came to the evil dragon realm and looked at the high wall. Tian Lei directly punched the wall, and the wall cracked with Tian Lei's fist as the center. After a while, it was broken into slag, and there was an extra 10 on the wall. Big mouth of rice. The scene in the evil dragon realm is now clear. All the fishmen are there, the evil dragon is sitting there basking in the sun, Zioba was cooking barbecue, while the other fishmen were training on their own. Tian Li made such a big noise, so they naturally looked over. When they saw Tian Li and the others, they laughed sinisterly. Evil dragon, it turns out it's our navigator who's back. Have you found enough money? And these navy are you looking for to die? Before Nami could speak, Tian Li said, Evil dragon, a former cotter of the Sun Pirates and brother of Kaixia Jinbei, it was because of Kaixia Jinbei that the navy released you. But you didn't take good care of yourself and cherish your hard-earned things. Freedom, on the contrary, has intensified its cruelty to human beings. Now I arrest you in the name of Commodore of the Navy Headquarters, kneel down, surrender to life, and resist death. Evil Dragon originally looked at Tian Li's Navy Lieutenant Colonel uniform and simply ignored it. In his eyes, the only way for a Navy Lieutenant Colonel to come over was to risk his death, but the Commodore was different. When he was in the Sun Pirates, he was often hunted by the Navy. Naturally, he knew the strength of each rank representative of the Navy. Moreover, he was from the Navy headquarters, so he should not be underestimated. When he thought about Tian Li saying that he was saved because of Kaixia Jinbei, he immediately exploded. You must know that he and Kaixia Jinbei have always been at odds with each other. Although this was true, he didn't want to admit it and shouted angrily, so what about the Commodore of the Navy headquarters? This is the East China Sea. Even if I kill you here, no one will know. At this time, the evil dragon Cotter came out and said, along, they said that the Commodore of the Navy headquarters is the Commodore of the Navy headquarters? Let me test their strength. The evil dragon thought for a while and it was right, that is, there was no problem. Sound, it's the default. In Tian Li's previous life, he knew a lot about the abilities of this evil dragon group. This guy can be said to be the weakest among the 3 evil dragon Cotters. His attack method is to spit out water droplets from his mouth. As for Taijutsu, come on, how strong in physical skills can a guy who can't even catch up to an ordinary person like Usopp be? This guy is only a little stronger than ordinary people. Arita's big iron rod can kill him. Tian Li immediately turned his head and said, Arita, come on. Arita was confused after hearing this, how could she still do her own thing? I only came to watch the show, and my sister hasn't joined the Navy yet, although I am in the Navy now, it was all because of you, but under Tian Li's cold eyes, he reluctantly walked out. But the next moment Arita was full of fighting spirit, because as soon as this guy saw Arita coming out, he immediately said, no way. What an old, ugly, fat woman came out. Being old, ugly and fat is Alita's reverse scale, it explodes at one point. What's more, what about all 3 of them? All I heard was Arita yelling angrily, you idiot, I'm going to beat you to death. As he said that, he immediately rushed towards Xiu with his huge iron rod, raised it and hit her on the head. This made Arita startled. No one expected that Arita would attack suddenly without any warning. Although he dodged the attack, he did so in a very awkward manner. Tian Li couldn't help but nodded. His judgment was indeed correct. Although Arita's attack was sudden, the speed at which it passed was not fast at all, just like that, he almost got hit. Needless to say, his physical skills were pretty bad. Fortunately, this guy was very clear about his own strengths and weaknesses. After dodging the blow, he quickly distanced himself from Arita and started firing with his mouth cannon. It's a pity that his moves are quite easy for Arita to solve. He doesn't even need to use his body. He just needs to put the huge iron rod on his body to block it, and it becomes a shield. All the attacks were easily blocked. Just like that, they kept attacking from afar, not daring to get close. He kept defending easily and kept trying to get closer. But unfortunately his speed was even slower and he couldn't catch up. Tian Lei's eyelids jumped when he saw such a boring battle. At this time, Arita was looking for an opportunity. When she saw that the distance between herself and Xiu was only 10 meters, she knew that her opportunity had come, and immediately shouted, "Look at my invincible flying stick!" Before Arita shouted, the big iron rod in her hand had actually been thrown towards Xiu, and she launched another unexpected attack. Xiu, who had become accustomed to the attack method of one attack, one defense, one approach, and one retreat, was once again hit in the face by this sudden move and was knocked away. When he hit the ground, his face was no longer visible, and his parents probably couldn't recognize him. It was obvious at a glance that he had lost the ability to fight. Tianli couldn't help but glance at Arita. It seems that this fat woman still has some brains. If she had already eaten the slippery fruit and became beautiful, it would not be impossible for her to receive one of her own subordinates. With some training, the combat power of a person with true abilities should not be too bad. The evil dragon was very annoyed when he saw it. He got angry and cursed, "Trash, you can't even defeat a human being." Zioba and Krubi immediately said, "Aaron, there's no need to be angry, it's just a moment of carelessness. It's up to us from now on. We must beat these humans to a pulp." The evil dragon suppressed his anger after hearing this. "Zioba, come on." "Zioba, good example, Aaron, you should be careful." He jumped up and climbed to the wall. In a moment, he climbed to the 2 floors with 8 hands, took out 6 knives and jumped down. Then he said, "Humans, come out and die. Mine is a swordsman of the 6 swords style, the strongest swordsman." After saying that, he quickly danced the 6 swords in his hand, which made people dazzled. Kabi and Arita were frightened for a moment, but Arita quickly picked up the iron rod and ran behind Tianli and the others. Tianli and Yukata laughed, even though the 6 sword style was quite intimidating. But they could see that Xiao Bie had no swordsmanship at all and was just dancing blindly. It's just because he has more hands, but no matter how blindly he dances, the 6 hands cooperate with each other, which can be regarded as a bit of strength. This can be regarded as his innate advantage. Chapter 30 Kirby's Crystal World. Seeing Xiao Hachi appear, Tianli glanced at Yukata and Kabi behind him, thought for a moment and said, "Kabi, come on. You have to remember that you are now a devil fruit user, so you must be brave and confident. In just one battle, you can see the results of your cultivation over this period of time." Kabi first glanced at the 6 knives in Zioba's hand with some fear, and then after seeing the encouraging eyes of Tianli and Yaibei Yukata, he walked out resolutely. This can be regarded as Kabi's maiden battle. When Xiao Bie saw Kabi coming out, he turned back to Aaron and Krub and said, "It seems my luck is much better than Xiu. The one who came out this time is not only a child, but also a beautiful child. I can't bear to do it." Kabi blushed immediately after hearing this. He had always been a person who couldn't rub himself anymore, and no one had ever praised him. Seeing Kabi's reaction to being praised, Tianli couldn't help but pat his head. This guy hasn't adapted to being a little normal yet. Yukata chuckled softly on the side and said, "It's okay. There will definitely be a lot of people praising him in the future. It would be nice if he praised him more." Arita, on the other hand, looked envious and jealous. "I thought to myself, why do you, a man, become so beautiful? What's more, he's still a child. It would be great if I could become this beautiful," but she didn't expect that she would get her wish soon. The evil dragon and Krubi had a black look on their faces when they heard this. If they hadn't known earlier that Zioba was an out-of-touch guy, they would have definitely kicked him in the face. Krubi said coldly, "Hurry up, Zioba. Do you want Aaron to be angry? The entire Aaron field will be destroyed by then." As soon as Zioba heard this, he immediately said, "Start now. Look at my 6 sword style." After saying that, he immediately jumped up and attacked Kabi. Fortunately, Tianli has been letting Arita and Yukata train with him for the past half-month, so Kabi's combat response is still good. He immediately put his hands on the ground, and in an instant, a crystal wall was built 3 meters in front of him. The crystal wall was 8 meters high, which was exactly the height at which Zioba jumped up. Zioba, who was in the air, was about to attack with 6 knives. He panicked when he saw the crystal wall suddenly appearing in front of him. You must know that he was in the air, but there is no place to borrow strength. He immediately waved his 6 arms in a panic, trying to stop himself and stop rushing forward. Unfortunately, this was in vain. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to the crystal wall, Zioba couldn't help but said, "This is how it will happen." Zioba hit the crystal wall hard, bang, and then said, "Oops." Then Zioba slid down against the crystal wall. The scene was a bit funny, and both Nami and Nakajao laughed out loud. Come! Kabi saw that the move worked, and he became more confident in himself. However, he did not notice that although the crystal wall did not fall, there were also cracks. If Zioba did not panic this time, he would use the F6 knives attack, the result will be 2. But Tianli saw it, and it seemed that the crystal wall was not hard enough, it can only withstand so much impact force. Moreover, Kabi was not very vigilant. After establishing the crystal wall, he still had time to retreat a little, even if the crystal wall was broken. He also has enough time and space to avoid defenses. It seems that after the things here are over, he still has to practice hard. Although Kabi was a little lacking, he was not stupid. When he saw Hachi falling to the ground, he would not let go of such an opportunity. He immediately used his ability to make a crystal shuriken and threw it at Hachi. This is also the thunder given to him. The move he was thinking of was Tenten's move when Tenli watched Naruto in his previous life, but Tenten kept the weapon in the scroll. Kabi, on the other hand, has infinite manufacturing capabilities, but is much stronger. Krubi on the side immediately shouted loudly, "Be careful, Zioba!" The evil dragon's pupils couldn't help but shrink. As someone who has been to the Grand Channel, he could naturally tell at a glance that Kabi was a person with abilities who had eaten the devil fruit. Xiao Hachi heard the reminder and immediately jumped up and shouted. "Look at my 6 swordsman's secret and 6 swords waltz!" Zioba's move, 6 swordsman's secret and 6 swords waltz, was so airtight that it was better than any of Keba's moves. The crystal shurikens were all blocked. The shuriken is really a dead end, it's useless at all. After Zioba blocked it, he immediately rushed towards Kabi again. With the experience of the previous 2 moves, Kabi was already very confident. He immediately put his palms on the ground again, crystal world. As soon as the voice fell, there was an extra layer of beautiful scenery on the ground within 100 meters of Kabi. Crystal! Xiao Bie, who rushed over, immediately threw him in the face. You must know that crystals are extremely smooth, let alone the crystals that come from Kabi, it's impossible to stand firmly on it. Kabi's attack had just begun, crystal entanglement. The crystals on the ground around Zioba immediately turned into ropes, tying Zioba's limbs, no, 8 limbs, to the crystal ground. This move was developed by Kabi himself. By chance, he discovered that as long as the crystal he created did not leave any part of himself, he could control the shape of the crystal at will. This is also the reason why the previous move was called Crystal World instead of just Crystal Ground. Because as long as his feet do not leave the crystal ground, he can control the crystals lying flat on the ground. When Kirby used this move to show off to Tianlei was shocked. Isn't this similar to the awakening of Don Quixote's thread fruit? Isn't that invincible? I tried it later, and the difference was huge. Kabi's move could only control the crystals he created. It couldn't leave the body, and the range was only 100 meters. However, it is very different from Don Quixote, whose thread fruit can turn any inanimate object into thread after awakening. When Krubi saw Zioba being captured, he immediately attacked too. However, Tianli and Yukata did not take action, because they knew the power of this move, which was already considered invincible at this level. Even Yuxi, who has mastered the naval style, pointing guns, shaving, and paper painting, wants to win Kirby, which is a bit tricky. It can be said that Kabi now has considerable strength just by relying on his fruit ability. Of course, he can only rely on his fruit ability because his physical skills have just begun to be cultivated. Seeing Kirby attacking, Kirby, who already had a certain understanding of his own strength, was not afraid at all. When Kirby rushed 50 meters into the crystal world, he stamped his foot, and the crystal on the ground immediately flipped up. A square mesh crystal blocked Kirby. After that, the crystal floors on the other 3 sides of Kirby also flipped up and a square mesh crystal came out. It quickly synthesized into a square mesh box and locked Kirby inside. At this time, Kabi shouted, "Lin of Spears." The crystals outside the square mesh box immediately formed crystal spears, which penetrated through the mesh of the square mesh box. Although the hardness of the crystal was not high, it was also very brittle. However, it is still very easy to pierce a person's body with a crystal spear that is as sharp as a sword. Chapter 31 Kabi vs Xiao8. At this time, the evil dragon couldn't sit still anymore, and immediately fired a wave of guns towards Kabi. How could Tianlei let him succeed? He immediately shaved and disappeared from the place. But his voice was still heard in the same place, "Yukata, you stay and protect Nami and Nakajao." But the man had already appeared, and the evil dragon punched in front of him, scattering his wave of spears. When the evil dragon saw Tianlei suddenly appearing in front of him, his expression suddenly changed, but he recovered immediately and smiled coldly, "Do you think your men can win if you block me? Xiao Ba is a swordsman. A warrior can't do anything with his hands and feet tied up. But Krubi is different. He's at level 40 of Fishman Karate, a real master of physical skills." A voice came out from the crystal net box filled with crystal guns, "You think you can defeat me just like this? Then you underestimate the fishman. The fishman is not just about endurance. 10 times that of a human. The strength of the body is also 10 times that of a human. Your crystal gun is not strong enough." Then there was a low cry, "Murloc Karate 1000 pieces of Watt's fist." With this sound, all the crystals cracked. At this time, due to a large number of crystal fractures, some crystals also escaped from Kaba's control, and Zioba on the side also escaped from the trap. Krubi soon walked out of the crystal man. He was injured and bleeding, but his expression did not change. Only then did Tianli take a serious look at him. At this time, the evil dragon said, "You humble humans, how dare you offend the noble Murlocs and trespass into Aaron's territory, you should all be killed. After seeing Krubi, you must know how powerful we Murlocs are." Tianli laughed immediately and taunted loudly, "Did I have too much earwax and my ears were blocked? Haha, I seem to have heard the funniest joke in the world. Noble, you said you fish people are noble? Then aren't I the noblest among nobles? A group of half-human, half-fish monsters dare to claim to be noble, so your heads will be kicked by donkeys." The evil dragon's face darkened after what Tianli said. The originally noble race was what the fishman himself said, but now it was exposed by the face of Tianli, which made the evil dragon even more angry. Murlocs, as the name suggests, have fish gills and human lungs. They can be said to be half-human, half-fish monsters. It can be said that they are just a kind of intelligent amphibians. You must know that in previous lives, just the difference in skin color between black, white, and yellow could make people discriminate against people of color. This kind of racial discrimination lasted for a long, long time. It was not until the feudal rule slowly collapsed that people became more aware of it. Change, but still no cure. In previous lives, black people were still regarded as niggas by many people. However, in order to dismantle this kind of racial discrimination, God knows how many wars have gone through and how many black leaders have died, just because of skin discrimination. The price black people have paid for this is undoubtedly heavy. So, in the world of One Piece, fishmen are not only different from humans in appearance, but also have different body structures from humans. Aren't they even more likely to be ostracized and despised? As it turns out, that's exactly what happened. Murlocs are almost the common enemy of all humans, with their bodies covered with scales and fins, and their weird blue-purple skin. It always makes people tremble and scream. Monsters, this is their code name. Therefore, in the world of One Piece, fish and humans are always at odds with each other. Even in the eyes of humans, fishmen are simply an inferior race, a hybrid of fish and humans. And the so-called nobles and strong people. These unwarranted titles are all self-appointed by them. Needless to say, the nobles, the strong one is the Kaixia Jinbei. Are there any others? The evil dragon became furious, staring at a pair of red eyes, and rushed towards Tianli with his saber-toothed nose. He wanted to show this ignorant human being what a powerful nation the fishmen are and how powerful they themselves are. Uniquely blessed, they are far more powerful than humans. Evil dragon, Hachi and Krubi, why don't you take action and kill them all? At this time, Zioba had already held the knife in his hand again. Zioba turned around and said respectfully to Aaron, "Brother Long, give them to us." A flash of admiration flashed in Aaron's eyes. He looked at Zioba and said, "Okay, go ahead. Kill everyone except our navigator Nami." Zioba received the answer and nodded seriously. In his opinion, he was too careless before, and he would never lose this time. He grasped the handle of the knife tightly with each of his 6 palms, roared and walked towards Kabi. One has to admire the fishman's physical strength. He had just endured such a heavy impact, but now he was full of energy again. At this time, Krubai also walked over to Kabi. The situation was a little different now. Yukata, Nami, and Nakajayo told him to be careful, and blocked Krubai's way with a shaving. Tenrei vs Evil Dragon, Kobe vs Hachi, Yukata vs Krubi. The war is about to begin. Xiao Ba angrily clenched the 6 long knives in his hand, stretched his arms forward, and the 6 knife tips met in one place. "Don't underestimate me, I will make you pay the price." Zioba roared. Rokuta style New Year. The attacks of the 6 knives are all integrated into one place, and their power is extremely powerful. Zyoba's feet were very fast, and the 6 knives almost turned into a bolt of lightning, rushing straight towards Kabi. There is no doubt that the crystal wall cannot stop this level of attack. Kabi's face turned pale, and his hands danced rapidly in front of him. As he waved his hands, a crystal net appeared. Looking at Xiao Bie, who kept approaching, he immediately threw the crystal net towards Xiao Bie. Xiao Hachi's 6-sword style, New Year attack was too fast, and it crashed into Kabi's crystal net. Zyoba's 6 knives and body were caught in the crystal net, making it difficult to move for a while. After Kabi saw the success of this move, he smiled slightly, moved his hands again, and dozens of glass arrows shot out of the air, one by one through the holes in the glass mesh, and all flew towards Xiao Bie, who was unable to move. Ah! Feeling those glass arrows close at hand, Zyoba actually gave up the 6 knives in his hand. He used all his 6 long hands to break open Kabi's crystal net, and then quickly protected his whole body. The suction cups on his arms were fully opened, trying to absorb the flying crystal arrows. Even so, he already had several crystal arrows stuck in his body and was seriously injured. The place where the crystal arrow was shot was already dripping with blood. Zyoba was angry, and he didn't know where he got the strength. He roared loudly, pulled out the crystal arrows on his body and said, "I won't let you go, just go to hell." Whoosh 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 whoosh. He took advantage of his 6 hands and threw all the crystal arrows in his hands towards Kirby. Chapter 32 The Great War, please collect and recommend. After all, Kabi had not obtained the devil fruit for a long time. By now, his physical and mental energy had been almost exhausted. Looking at the dozens of crystal arrows coming towards him, he was already a little overwhelmed. After blocking 5 crystals with the poor physical skills he had just learned, he had no time to dodge the last crystal arrow. Clang! A sharp collision sound came. At this time, several pieces of Kabi's body were hit by crystal arrows. Yes, it was at the most critical moment. Kabi attached a layer of crystal to his body to avoid injury, but even so, Kabi felt severe pain. Even when Kabi was in pain, Zyoba was also having a hard time. He had at least a dozen holes all over his body. Just now, he threw the arrow with all his strength, which resulted in more injuries. The blood on his body flowed even more fiercely. Although the fishman's physique was very strong, he could not stop the bleeding. Hachi rushed towards him again. At this time, Kabi used some simple evasive techniques he had learned from Yukata in the past few days and narrowly avoided Hachi's attack. But Zyoba immediately turned around and rushed towards Kabi again. Kibi used his last bit of strength and shouted, "Needle ball!" A huge crystal meteor hammer appeared outside Kibi, protecting Kibi in the middle. Boom! Ah! Zyoba rushed too fast and had already rushed close to Kabi. He had no time to avoid the pinball that Kabi suddenly used. In Zyoba's extreme panic, Zyoba hit Kirby's needle ball hard, breaking all the spikes on the needle ball, and countless crystal spikes pierced Zyoba's chest. Also because they were crystals, these crystal spikes shattered into pieces in Zyoba's chest. No matter how hard Zyoba tried, he couldn't pull out these crystal spikes on his chest. At this time, Kabi's face was a little pale, and his physical strength was seriously exhausted. But fortunately, he is still in the needle ball. "You don't think you can defeat me like this? The fishman's endurance is 10 times that of a human being." 10 times. Zyoba gritted his teeth and endured the severe pain on his body, and the 6 knives struck again. "I want to kill Kabi." Haha. Facing the 6 oncoming sharp knives, Kabi did not panic, but showed a strange smile. He has one last trick up his sleeve. Explode. At this moment, the crystals outside Kibi's body immediately exploded, and a shower of arrows formed by crystal fragments shot out from outside Kibi's body in 360 degrees. Xiao Hachi, who was getting closer to Kabi, couldn't dodge at all. He was immediately shot out from his body, covered with crystal shards, and slowly fell down. This battle was finally over. Zyoba lost, and his Kabi virgin won. Kabi looked at his body falling backwards with a victorious smile. Although he paid a slight price for this battle, it was worth it. All he has to do now is lie down and take a good breath. Krubi, who had been seriously injured, still had a serious face, but said in a very proud tone, "My name is Krubi, the th Dan of Fishman Karate." Uxi replied calmly, "Oh. What does it matter? It doesn't matter whether you do karate or any other way, it's all the same to me." Then he said very confidently and full of sarcasm, "Because you will lose to me. On your hands. Not to mention you were seriously injured. Look at the blood. It's like you don't need money." Of Krubi has always regarded his karate practice as a kind of pride, because among the fishmen, there are not many who can practice this karate to level 40. Speaking out at this time is to declare how strong he is. It's a pity that Yukata didn't take karate seriously at all. This made Krubi, who was very proud of karate, unbearable and was completely angered. Krubi immediately roared, "I want you to know how powerful karate is." The bones in Krubi's arms are different from those of humans, they grow on the outside. Wrapped only by a layer of skin, the bones of both arms are curved like sickles, possessing extremely strong strength and destructive power. I saw Krubi kicking hard on the ground and attacking Yutaki with his head like a blade. Yukata kicked out without showing any signs of weakness, blocking Krubi's blade-like arms. You must know that Yukata learned the shaver from the 6th Marine style, so the strength of his legs is naturally not weak. Krubi was worthy of being a master of physical arts. At this moment, he suddenly turned to one side and attacked Yukata's waist with a whip kick. Krubi's attack, the way and angle of the attack were very unexpected. Krubi felt that his fist had touched the corner of Yukata's clothes, and Krubi was excited. And in the next moment, Yukata's body shape changed, and his fist and Yukata just passed each other. This is not inappropriate, but this happened. In fact, Krubi's attack shocked Yukata to the point of breaking out in a sweat. Fortunately, she immediately put down all her strength and used the paper drawing in the 6th Marine style that she had just learned. It was dangerous and dangerous. Avoided this attack. After escaping the attack, Yukata immediately started to counterattack, stretched out his right hand and shouted, "Finger gun!" A finger force flew out from the fingertips and shot towards Krubi's chest. Yukata's finger gun attack came so fast that Krubi couldn't dodge it, so he could only block the attack with his arms crossed in front of him. Boom! There was a low muffled sound, and the fingers and arms clashed. Krubi only felt extreme pain in his arms, and at the same time a huge force came over him. He had to lean slightly and press his feet on the ground. He exerted all his strength and dragged himself backwards for 5 or 6 steps before stopping. One can only imagine how powerful Yukata's attack was. In this fight, the two men's skills were clearly demonstrated. Krubi's purple face suddenly turned red. He didn't think his karate was worse than this woman's moves. You know, his fishman karate has reached level dash, what a terrifying state that is. Of course, this is what he thinks. His chest was heaving violently, and the unwillingness and anger in his heart had swelled to the extreme. In fact, it was not that he was too weak, but that he could not exert his full strength. Because the Murlocs only have their full strength underwater, their attack power is naturally greatly increased, but their attacks on land are greatly reduced. Although Krubi really wants to lure Yukata into fighting underwater, Yukata is not a fool, so Krubi could only fight Yukata on land. But Yukata doesn't care about that much. She only knows that she must defeat this powerful fishman. Yukata stamped his foot hard on the ground and used shaving to disappear from the spot. Chapter 33 Victory, signed. Then she appeared behind Krubi, and immediately launched a flying kick. This time she used all her strength. Her leg seemed to turn into a black snake, and like lightning, she quickly kicked Krubi in the back. Passed. When Yukata appeared behind Krubi, Krubi didn't notice it at all. It was the strong wind from Yukata's flying kick attack that made Krubi notice Yukata, and a trace of nervousness flashed on his face. Immediately, he assumed a karate punching posture, clenched his fists, and stepped firmly on his horse. He punched out suddenly and shouted, "Fight back with the Wa Zhang fist." The fist and the foot met in the air, and the two moves were two. The collision of a person's extremely powerful moves is naturally quite powerful. Boom! In the end, Krubi's body was like a kite with a broken string, flying straight backwards, hitting the wall hard again, and fainted. There was no suspense at all. Yukata won this battle. He patted the dust on his navy uniform from the fight, walked to Krubi and helped him up, and walked to Nami and Nakajayo. Nami and Nakajayo looked at Yukata with admiration. They had never thought that a woman could be so strong and defeat the most powerful coder of the evil dragon. If Kirby vs Hachi was a miserable victory, then Yukata vs Krubi was a complete victory. If the showdown with Krubi was easy, then the fight between Li Yu and the fishman Aaron was undoubtedly cruel and tragic. Both of them chose to fight head-on, and for a moment they were evenly matched. Of course, this was because Tian Li did not use his domineering force. Now Tian Li's domineering power is limited, so Tian Li is waiting for an opportunity to kill with one strike. Being unable to take down the thunder for a long time made Aaron go berserk. How could the proud and powerful fishman be unable to defeat a human for such a long time? What a shame, he was so angry that he smiled back, but the smile was so chilling that it made people shudder. He said coldly, "Okay, okay, okay." He said 3 good words in a row. Aaron went berserk, but Tianli was quite speechless. "Okay, good, good, what a ball, isn't it just a fight, you think it's a serious matter, I said it 3 times in a row, are you annoying?" Aaron put his hand to his mouth. Crack! There was a strange sound, and Aaron actually removed all his teeth from his mouth. Caw made a series of clicking sounds. It turned out that Aaron was holding this set of teeth in his right hand. The sharp tips of the teeth were standing still. As Aaron pressed, the teeth would make sounds as they opened and closed. Crack sound. And in the mouth where he lost his teeth, a row of sharper teeth quickly grew on the bare gums. In just a few seconds, it has taken shape and is sharper than the first set of teeth. Teething grows so quickly, it's really shocking. When he saw this scene in his previous life, Tianli didn't quite believe it. How could tusks grow so fast? Not even a fishman, if it were true, wouldn't it become a denture-making machine? But now that the facts are in front of Tianli, he has no choice but to believe it. Tianli can only sigh, this world of One Piece is really full of wonders. At the same time, Tianli was also secretly happy. Fortunately, this was just the speed at which the teeth grew. If the wound healed so quickly, wouldn't the fishman be invincible? And this evil dragon is not finished yet. It actually pulled out another set of teeth. It was held in his left hand. Although he knew that the evil dragon had this trick in his previous life, after seeing it for real now, he still found it quite shocking. Using teeth to attack already opens up one's imagination, but someone who can come up with a way to attack with 3 teeth is so imaginative. Kaka accompanied by the clear sound of teeth gnashing, the evil dragon laughed crazily and said, "See, the fishmen who are blessed by nature all have their own specialties. And we, the fishmen of the shark family, the teeth are extremely sharp and can grow infinitely, which is beyond the reach of you humans." Tianli couldn't help but be shocked. Isn't it just that his teeth are getting better? Is this something to show off? Is there anything to be proud of? It's really speechless. Tianli was speechless and sneered, "Don't be blind. It's better to see the real chapter under your hands." After saying that, Tianli stepped on the ground fiercely, and his body attacked Aaron like lightning. Aaron also sneered, showing no fear at all. Instead of retreating, he advanced forward and faced Tianli head-on. Kaka he held sharp teeth in both hands, and his mouth also shone with a cold light. Just like 3 big beast traps, they attacked Tianli. How could Tianli be afraid of these teeth? He didn't even need to use his domineering energy. He just used the iron 1,000 pieces of teeth fist and struck with both fists with the 2 sets of teeth in the evil dragon's hand. The result is unclear. The evil dragon, the 2 sets of teeth in his hand were immediately smashed into pieces by Tianli's fists. After the teeth in the evil dragon's hands were destroyed, the anger in his eyes was about to burst out. In a moment of rage, under the unfavorable circumstances, he once again advanced instead of retreating, opening his mouth wide and biting Tianli. When Tianli saw the evil dragon's behavior, he immediately laughed sinisterly. The opportunity he had been waiting for had come. He immediately used an iron block on his forehead, and also added domineering energy. The black patch on Tianli's forehead was the best proof. Then he hit the evil dragon's head unceremoniously. This strike from the sky thunder was so severe that the evil dragon was hit and the sharp-haired sword's nose was completely broken. The teeth in his mouth were also shattered, his eyes protruded, and then flew out suddenly. Tianli would not stop attacking because the system text had not yet appeared in his mind, which meant that the evil dragon was only seriously injured and not dead. Tianli would not give any enemy a chance to make a comeback. Tianli arrived with a shave, flew upside down over the dragon, and immediately hit the dragon with another domineering, iron 2,000 tiles roundhouse kick, hitting the dragon's abdomen. The evil dragon that was hit hard stopped flying upside down, and instead hit the ground fiercely, knocking out a big pit on the ground, and the evil dragon was lying in the middle of the pit. However, the system text still did not appear in Tianli's mind. Tianli glanced at the evil dragon lying in the middle of the pit, which was already too miserable to look at. I couldn't help but sigh, this fishman's vitality is really strong. Continuously powerful attacks like this, even if they hit the target completely, he still won't die. Tianli is not a soft-hearted person. He will not kill the evil dragon without seeing the miserable appearance of him. He immediately fired 2 more gun waves, hitting the evil dragon's open mouth and the heart of the chest respectively. These 2 powerful attacks made the evil dragon lying on the ground bounce up from the ground. After that, he vomited a mouthful of blood and finally ran out of breath. Chapter 34 Loro Zoro One Sword Style, Pseudo. Bounty System Prompts, the reward is to draw mid-level items once. Whether to extract. Bounty System Prompts, the main host mission, to destroy all bounty pirates in the East China Sea, is completed. Success rewards a set of advanced sword moves, Pioxu, one of the 52 skills. Whether to receive it. Bounty System Prompts, guard Rog Town, suppress bandits and defeat the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, complete the side mission of saving Sarop Village, and reward the intermediate mobile training method Catwalk, whether to receive it. The evil dragon was finally dead, and system text appeared in Tian Li's mind. This sight made Tian Li extremely happy. Yes, he immediately claimed it, and the extraction was not used for the time being. Bounty System Prompts, receive a set of advanced sword moves, Loro Zoro One Sword Style, Fake, Sword Moves, Itoryu Filong Flame, False, Itoryu Ikatari, False, Itoryu Dachin Shake, False, Itoryu Iai Lion Song, False, Itoryu Iai, Lion's Elegy, False, Itoryu Iai Death Lion Gag, False, Itoryu 36 Worrying Phoenix. Bounty System Prompts, get a good sharp knife Pioxu. Bounty System Prompts, receive the intermediate training movement training method Catwalk moves, silent steps, cat-like footsteps, gentle, silent high-speed moving assassination techniques. Spoon, Crow's strongest move, the indiscriminate attack of the silent step, uses high-speed movement and cat claw attacks on his hands to kill a large number of enemies, so fast that even the person who makes the move doesn't know that he will hit him. What? After reading this, Tian Li's mouth started to water again. In his previous life, he saw Loro Zoro's sword moves. Each move was more handsome and cooler than the last. Which pirate's fan in the previous life was not greedy for it, but now that he actually has it, he can learn it and use it. It is extremely wonderful to think about it. Although it's just fake, it's not bad if you add your own domineering power, and there are a total of 7 moves here, make a fortune. But having said that, Loro Zoro's One Sword Style Fake one is high-end, isn't the genuine one the top-notch sword move, even peerless. No wonder Loro Zoro's strength has improved so quickly, not only because of his qualifications, but also because of his superb understanding. He can understand so many powerful moves. How can he not be strong? If this set of powerful sword moves were passed on to the guy with facial paralysis, I think with his qualifications he would learn it very quickly and gain insights into his own powerful sword moves. The strength will be strong by then. The evil dragon is dead, Krubi is crippled, Xiu is almost done, and Zioba is almost done too. The remaining fishmen Luo dared to stay here, and immediately jumped into the sea one by one and left quickly. The thunder didn't stop them. These little Luo didn't have much ability and couldn't afford to make any trouble. Besides, if they killed these little Luo, they couldn't get any prizes, so why bother? Tian Li, Yokota, you beheaded the evil dragon, Krubi, Xiu, and Zioba Tong Tong. These heinous people must not be let go. After saying this, Tian Li scanned the surroundings and suddenly found out something is wrong. Hey? Why is Zioba missing? In the last life, it seemed that Zioba escaped in the anime. It seems that this Zioba really did not deserve to die. The sound of Tian Li woke up Nami and Nakajao. They were stunned when Tian Li swept the evil dragon with its last 3 moves. They really didn't expect such a powerful evil. The dragon will be defeated so miserably in the hands of Tian Li. Nami and Nakajao looked at each other and hugged each other. Thinking of the suffering that their Kokoyashi village had suffered in the past few years, they couldn't help crying. Tian Li really doesn't understand what these women are thinking. They have already helped them deal with the evil dragon. Why are they still crying? Walked over, the evil dragon group has been solved, why are you still crying? Nami and Nakajao, we are crying with joy. After saying that, the two of them laughed loudly. Our Kokoyashi village is finally saved. The two of them laughed for a while, then they remembered Tian Li and the others, and immediately he ran over and bowed deeply to Tian Li and said, "Thank you for saving us and saving the entire Koko West village." Tian Li said very pretentiously, "I am a righteous navy, these are what we should do." Nami and Nakajao, even so, we are still very grateful to you. Tian Li didn't want to dwell on this topic, so he clung to it and immediately changed the topic. I said, now that the evil dragon is dead and the evil dragon pirate group has also disbanded, should we have such a good time with Koko? The villagers of Yoxi village share and share, it's not good for you two to have fun here secretly. Nami and Nokikao were immediately startled when they heard this. Yes, How could the two of us know about such a good thing? The two of them immediately ran towards the direction of Kokoyasi village. As they ran, they said, Lieutenant Colonel Tian Li, I will ask the villagers to hold a banquet to thank you. Afterwards, the four of them from Tian Li went to the evil dragon's treasure house together. As soon as they entered the treasure house, their eyes lit up. Now they finally had money to spend again. The evil dragon's treasure house is on the third floor of the tower. Tian Li and the four of them made a rough inventory of the treasures. Bailey alone has 1,002,000 million, as well as precious things such as gold, silver, and jewelry. After a preliminary estimate, there must be 7,000 million. With so much money, Tian Li's eyes instantly turned into Bailey shapes. My life and my little brother are finally insured. Even if the mission is not completed due to an accident, my life and my little brother will be safe. After the four people from Tian Li put the money back on their ship, Tian Li dialed Marshal Sengoku's phone number, Bru. Bulu. Bulu. I am Sengoku, who are you? Tian Li, Marshal of the Warring States period, I am Tian Li. Phone bug, it's thunder. What's the matter? Tian Li, this is like this. I am now in Coco West Village in the East China Sea. Tian Li told Warring States everything about the evil dragon and the mouse colonel, and finally said, Evil Dragon Long has been killed by me. His three cotters Krubi and Xiu are already in custody. Zioba has escaped. The other members have also dispersed. Colonel Mouse has also been captured. Personally, I suggest that Krubi and Xiu be captured. And Colonel Rat was handed over to the villagers of Kokoyasi village to express the anger of the people. Afraid that Warring States would disagree, Tian Li added, what Colonel Mouse and the evil dragon have done have had a great impact on this area. In the area under the jurisdiction of Colonel Mouse, people no longer believe in the Navy and regard it as the Navy is like a pirate. This is the only way to make the civilians angry as soon as possible. Please also ask the Warring States Marshal to consider it carefully. Chapter 35 Cook Nyakajeo. Warring States thought for a moment, such a big thing can be found out with just one investigation, and Tian Li would not talk nonsense even if he thought about it, so he said, okay, let's deal with it in your own way. There are still 2 days left for Lieutenant General Mole. We've arrived at Rog Town, you should go back as soon as possible. Tian Li, yes. Marshal of the Warring States period. The 4 men from Tian Li escorted Krubi, Xiu, and the evil dragon who was already a corpse, and returned to Coco West Village together. I saw Nami, Nakajeo, village policeman Aiken and Koko Nishimura waiting there, ready to welcome the 4 Tian Li people. When the people in Coco West Village saw the 4 men from Tian Li walking toward them with the evil dragon in tow, they all cheered, and none of them shed tears at the same time. These are tears of joy for the annihilation of all the evil dragons, tears of hope for the future, and tears of sadness for the tragic life in the past. Tian Li first glanced at Nami and Nakajeo with a smile, and then said to the village policeman Ajian, I have told Marshal Sengoku about the situation here, and Marshal Sengoku has agreed to my suggestion to return these evil dragons and their gang. I'll leave it to you to deal with Colonel Mouse. Village policeman Ajian, Nami, Nakajeo and all the villagers were stunned. What did they hear? Did the Supreme Commander of the Navy, Senguo, also know about them? You also agreed to Brigadier General Tian Li's suggestion to hand over the evil dragon gang and Colonel Mouse to us. Why does this sound so unreal, like a dream? Village policeman Ajian, Nami, and Senior Nyaki asked tremblingly, Brigadier Tian Li, what you said is all true. Have these people been handed over to us? Tian Li, I'll leave it to you. After hearing this, village policeman Ajian, Nami, Nyakajeo and all the villagers couldn't help but clench their fists with both hands. Then we're not welcome. Then, under the leadership of village policeman Ajian, Nami, and Nyakajeo, they all rushed towards the evil dragon and the mouse colonel. The evil dragon was okay, he was about to die anyway, but the other people were in dire straits. A whole hour, their screams never stopped. The 4 people from Tian Li looked at it and were sweating all over their bodies. Tian Li, water can carry a boat and also capsize it. I think you, Yukata, a navigator, know this best. Yukata was also shocked by the excited and violent villagers. Hearing what Tian Li said, he replied with some confusion, this is natural. How can a navigator become a navigator if he doesn't know this? How can we navigators? One is not full of awe of the sea. Tian Li, yes. Many people understand this truth. But it's a pity that many people in the world government don't understand it. After hearing Tian Li's words, Yokota looked thoughtfully at the villagers who were originally kind but were now violent. Kaba looked confused when he heard this. Impossible. It seems that ordinary people who are not navigators can understand such a simple truth. Tianli, but don't you think that these villagers are the water in the sea? All the people in the world are the entire sea, and our navy and the world government are ships sailing on the sea. Usually these people are as calm as the sea, but once it breaks out, it will be a huge wave. I heard that there are some revolutionary armies in some places. This is a crime of beheading, but why are more and more people in the country participating in it? Kaba touched his head, which was feeling a little headache from thinking, and asked, why? Tianli saw that he had said this for his own sake. Kaba didn't understand yet and hit him hard on the head. Of course those people can't live anymore. Otherwise, who would be willing to do this decapitation work if they were living a good life? Go and take a look at the countries where revolutionary armies broke out. Which of their kings and governments did not impose excessive taxes and make the people of the good country miserable? It would be strange if the people did not rebel. Although Yokota thought a lot, he didn't expect it to be such a reason. He couldn't help but murmured in a low voice, such a big event is just for a bite of food. Tianli, yes, it's just for a mouthful of food. The people at the lower level can live if they have this food, and they will die if they don't have it. What do you think they should do? So in the future, they will face the revolutionary army and kill the culprits. That's it. The ordinary people under their command can let go if they can. They have no choice but to do it just to survive. Yokota and Kabi couldn't help but nodded. A long time had passed since the villagers had finished venting, and then they became kind villagers again. The banquet that had been prepared for a long time was also held, so everyone had a great time. The dinner party didn't end until very late, and then everyone went home. The next morning, Tianli came to Nami and Nakajao's home alone. During the banquet yesterday, when Tianli learned that everything for the banquet was made by Nakajao, Tianli decided to kill Nakajao. Jaola's decision to board his own warship. Dong dong. Dong. Is Nakajao at home? Tianli knocked on the door. Nami and Noki came to open the door together. It's Brigadier Tianli, come in quickly. Tianli, no, we are leaving today. I am here to invite Nakajao. Nami looked at Tianli curiously, sister. Nakajao looked confused, invite me. Tianli smiled, that's right, it's you. I ate the food you cooked at the banquet yesterday. It really made me have endless memories. Now there is exactly one less chef on my warship. I invite you to be my chef. You know what you mean? How? Nami was dumbfounded, but Nakajao was completely confused. She had never thought of going to sea. Tianli, you should know best what is going on in your village, but there are many villages like yours in the world, waiting for us to rescue them. Your mother Belmir was once an outstanding navy. If it hadn't been for meeting you on the battlefield, I think her achievements would have been extraordinary. Tianli boarded the warship to get Nakajao, but he did everything possible and even moved Nakajao's mother Belmir out. Nami and Naka's faces darkened when they heard about their mother Belmir in their first year of high school. Mother Belmir was the pain of their lives. She gave up the navy for them and lost her life for them. Nakajao thought for a long time, bit her lip and said to Nami, Nami, I want to fulfill my mother's unfinished dream. Nami was stunned after hearing this. She didn't expect that Nakajao would think so, but she still said to Nakajao, sister, I support your choice. If there are orange groves here, just leave them to me. After saying that, I couldn't hold it in any longer, and my tears couldn't help but fall. Nakajao did the same, hugged Nami and cried loudly. When Tianli saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel the love between the two sisters. He also made a scissor hand gesture in his heart, and the cook Nyaki got it. Chapter 36, Bad Luck, please collect, please recommend. In the afternoon, Tianli looked at the villagers of Coco West Village who were bidding farewell to them at the port. Of course, the key was that Nami, who was standing at the front, was still crying and waving desperately to Nakajao. Nakajao, who was standing at the stern of the boat, waved goodbye to Nami and the entire Coco West Village. Of course, Tianli was still very considerate. She originally left early in the morning, but Nakajao agreed, and Tianli asked her to say goodbye to Koko Nishimura, and also asked her to stay with Nami for a while. After all, it was too sudden for them. At the same time, I also helped Nyokijao dig out a few orange trees from their orange garden, and they happened to be planted on my USS Zeon warship. Anyway, I still have a lot of empty space on both sides of the captain's cabin, so it's not a problem to plant a few orange trees. Ah! After leaving Coco West Village, Tian Li began to set off for Rog Town, and Noki Jo also began his formal naval life. Tian Li glanced at Arita next to him again, and the corners of his eyes twitched. Why do you think it is? Because this guy actually became more beautiful after eating a lot of fruit at yesterday's banquet. Needless to say, she got some shit luck, and it's not just any ordinary shit luck. Because there is a devil fruit mixed in among this pile of fruits, he even let her eat it, and by the way, it was still the slippery fruit. After going around a long way, she still let her eat this fruit. This guy was happy when he woke up. Not only did he have the fruit, his abilities and strength were greatly increased, but he also turned into a top beauty. The most important thing was that Tian Li and the others could no longer recognize him, so he could leave in a big way. So this unlucky guy walked arrogantly in front of Tian Li and the others, without any fear of others recognizing him. Needless to say, the result of making Tian Li stare out was that Tian Li, who had seen One Piece in his previous life, could not recognize her. He immediately went to give her a lesson with domineering force and brought her back. There's no way, she's pretty awesome now, and there's nothing you can do with your haki. Without haki and halashi, you'd really have a hard time dealing with her. Her slippery fruit ability can deflect almost all attacks. At least now Tian Li and the others have tried many kinds of attacks, and he can slide away. And only sword strikes can hurt her. This guy has now become a major force in Tian Li's men, but Yokota has almost nothing to do with her, because Yokota practices all physical skills, and he can also find a sword or something with a sharp blade to attack. Her abilities. But it was Kaba's crystal fruit that completely defeated her. He could only force her to submit with one pass of the crystal shuriken. Tian Li couldn't help but wonder if there were some things that were irreversible in this pirate world. What's going on if this guy doesn't eat the slippery fruit in advance? She must know that as soon as she returns to Rog Town, she probably won't come out, and she won't have the chance to eat the slippery fruit. I can't figure it out. Tian Li shook his head. Forget it, he couldn't think about it anymore, it was good for him anyway, no matter what. Tian Li looked at Kabi on the other side, his eyes scanning back and forth between the two of them several times. Both of them were losers counterattacking, just a counterattack young lady, a counterattack goddess. Tian Li couldn't help but said, you two are really a match made in heaven. Unexpectedly, Tian Li's speechless words set them off. Kabi said to Arita with a look of disgust, I will not be with such an old, ugly, fat guy. A perfect match. But I didn't expect that Arita would take advantage of her height and looked down at Kabi and said, it's even more impossible for me to be with a short and awkward guy like you. What a perfect match for such a cheeky little kid, what's more, I am the most beautiful woman in the world. After saying that, he also gave Kabi a wink. Arita's shameless words and expression shocked Tian Li and the others, including Nakajao, who was still sad about leaving her hometown. They also made them laugh. Kabi directly used the fruit's ability to make two shurikens, and kept throwing them up and down in his hands. At the same time, he looked at Arita with a very unkind look, and the threat was self-evident. It's really tit for tat, maybe Arita bullied Kabi too much before, so God allowed her to be bullied by Kabi now. At this time, Tian Li returned to his captain's cabin. Looking at the various neatly trimmed plants on the side, he couldn't help but laugh that he was looking for a cook to deliver a garden haul. That's right, this place is also managed by Nyoki Jo. Tian Li opened an illustrated book, which he got from the evil dragon. I think he got it when he was in the Sun Pirates, because he couldn't get such a thing with his current strength. This illustrated book is the Devil Fruit Illustrated Book, which records 136 kinds of devil fruits. Now Tian Li just wants to see what devil fruit he has in his hand. Tian Li browsed through it initially and found that there are really all kinds of devil fruits. Devil fruits are divided into natural, superhuman, and animal types, but how to distinguish devil fruits of the same type? Lines. Yes, lines. Even if they are devil fruits of the same series, their lines are slightly different. This devil fruit illustrated book was recorded by a family over hundreds of years. The 3 Superman type and 3 animal type ones in Tian Li's hands were all found in the Devil Fruit Illustrated Book after reference. The 2 superhuman types are the vine fruit, which can produce vines to attack, and the flow fruit, which can flow among all non-living things. The 2 animal types are the dog fruit, in the form of a hound, and the rabbit fruit, in the form of a kicking rabbit. Although these 4 are classified as primary, they are all pretty good. The vine fruit is the worst. Although the flowing fruit has no attack power, it is more than enough to protect itself, the fruits of Don Quixote da Flamingo's travels are similar. The inu fruit, hound form, and the hare rabbit fruit, kick-legged rabbit form, are also pretty good, at least very useful for 6-style users in the Navy. After reading this, Tian Li began to practice Loro Zoro's one-sword style, as well as Locke's catwalk and domineering. During the half-month he returned to Rog Town, Tian Li initially integrated Locke's catwalk into his own 6 postures. Now he no longer makes any sound when using the shaver. This is a huge result. Roro Zoro's one-sword style can only be used reluctantly, and the attack cannot be fully exerted, but even this is much stronger than the previous nameless one-sword style. Because the time for haki is too short, the progress is not very obvious. Looking at Rog Town, Tian Li couldn't help but think that after handing over the devil fruit, he would stay in Rog Town to practice hard, develop all the moves he knows, and further improve his strength. Once you reach one level, you can set off on the Great Channel. Tian Li couldn't help but look in the direction of the Great Channel, and thought, I will be coming to the Great Channel soon, and I will let the whole world know my name, Saka Tian Li, and I will become the most powerful man in the world. Chapter 37 The Flying Squirrel was dumbfounded. Please collect and recommend. After Tian Li's group of 5 people entered Rog Town, they quickly arrived at the naval station and came to Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, who had been waiting for Tian Li for 13 days. Tian Li first saluted Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, and then said with a smile, Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, something happened on the way back, which kept you waiting for a long time. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel waved his hand and said without caring at all, Brigadier General Tian Li, Marshal Warring States has told me about your matter, and you have done a good job. What do I have to wait for a few days for the sake of those people? This is your Brigadier General's uniform, Yukata, and Kobe will also give you your school uniforms and captains. After hearing this, Tian Li couldn't help but think that what he said was really accurate, and he was worthy of being the most beautiful among lieutenant generals. Sure enough, except for Arita, the pirate, everyone looked at Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel with admiration. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel glanced at him in confusion. Arita, who was behind Tian Li, asked, Who is this? Before he came, he had checked that there were only 3 sailors beside Tian Li. Why did another person suddenly appear? Tian Li, this is Arita, a pirate. When Arita heard Tian Li's introduction, she was immediately dumbfounded. Hey! She only had one thought in her mind, brother, are you going to die? It's okay to just take me to the naval base, but if you say that I'm a pirate in a naval headquarters, what does it mean? Is this because I didn't die quickly enough? Arita's eyes were already red, and she was really upset. Look at her face, which seems to be smiling but not smiling, crying but not crying, with a hint of resentment in the corner of her mouth. At this time, the sunset is going down, and the faint sunlight shines on her face. She is about 25 or years old, and there is no makeup on her face. The complexion is white, tender, and extremely smooth, which is really exciting to see. Of course, the prerequisite for having such a feeling is that I have never seen her appearance before. Even Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel couldn't help but blush when he saw Arita's lethal expression. Fortunately, he came to his senses immediately and returned to normal, otherwise his face would have been very embarrassing. This can't be blamed on Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel's lack of determination. In fact, Arita is so beautiful now that she can compete with the pirate Empress Boya Hancock, who is known as the most beautiful woman in the world. However, the temperament is much different. If he doesn't speak, he will wait quietly to be evenly matched, but when he speaks. Boya Hancock's queenly demeanor is clearly revealed, and Arita's manly temperament is immediately apparent when thinking about her walking around with a huge iron rod. The superiority of these two people is immediately obvious, but even this is not something that men with lustful physiques can resist. Cough. 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 Do you think this lady is a pirate? Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel asked with a smile on his face. Tian Li smiled and said, This is Arita, the captain of the Arita Pirates. But he thought to himself, Miss, Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, who is always serious, is still smiling. The power of your mother, beauty is indeed extraordinary, but what kind of mood will you feel when you see his original appearance? Tian Li couldn't help but chuckle when he thought of this. After listening to Tian Li's words, Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel looked at Alita. Alita was so frightened that her face turned pale. She screamed in surprise and said weakly, as if she was about to faint, No, it's not like that. I am the captain of the Alita Pirates, but now I am already a marine and have joined the command of Tian Li Sheazuan. If you don't believe me, look. As she spoke, she quickly pulled up the navy uniform on her body, but with this pull, she exposed even more of the white spots on her chest, blinding a bunch of people. But she doesn't know it yet, she is indeed a tomboy. I still can't handle your demo, this is not true. You are crying and shouting that you want to join the navy and join my command. Tian Li's smile was quite sinister, but in the eyes of Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, it turned into a vulgar one, and he gave Tian Li a look that every man would understand. Seeing the look in Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel's eyes, Tian Li turned his head and glanced at Arita. Thinking of her previous appearance, he suddenly felt the urge to scold her, but he did not explain it. After all, this matter was getting darker and darker. Tian Li immediately changed the subject and took out 4 devil fruits, keeping the hound fruit, and handed the other 3 devil fruits to Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel immediately took it, put it in a box that had been prepared a long time ago, and carried it on his back. It seemed that he was going to carry it close to his body. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, Tian Lei, there is no one here. Tell me how you got this devil fruit. I won't tell anyone else. Tian Li looked at him speechlessly. Can I tell you about this? What a joke. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel looked at the silent Tian Li and said quite speechlessly, can't you tell me that it fell from the sky? What kind of luck does this have? If you find another one, I'll see. Look, I believe it. At this time, Arita's figure suddenly appeared in Tian Li's mind, and Tian Li's eyes suddenly lit up. Tian Li was not the only one to have such a reaction. Yukata and Kabi also thought of Arita, and their expressions suddenly became strange. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel naturally saw the expressions of Yukata and Kabi, and his heart tightened, and he asked blankly, is there really such a person? Tenli, Yukata and Kobe couldn't help but look at Arita. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel followed their gaze and looked over, his mind filled with question marks. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel asked uncertainly, Arita, you. Arita said with an embarrassed look on her face, I am a user with the superhuman slippery fruit ability. This superhuman slippery fruit was eaten at the celebration banquet held for us in Cocoa West Village. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel still couldn't react, and asked with a confused look on his face, did you eat the fruit at the banquet? Tian Li smiled and said, after we took down the evil dragon gang and the mouse colonel, the villagers of Kokoyasi village held a banquet for me. There were a lot of fruits at the banquet, and I don't know why, but they were mixed a superhuman devil fruit, the slippery fruit. Thousands of people at the banquet all went to eat the fruit, but this devil fruit was eaten by this guy. Now Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel understood, but he was also dumbfounded. This method of eating a devil fruit was no more reliable than a devil fruit falling from the sky. You don't have to believe what others say. Yukata is someone he knows was sent by Marshal of the Warring States. There was no way she could lie to herself. One look at her expression and he knew that this thing that seemed like a fantasy had really happened. Chapter 38 The collective strength increases greatly, please collect and recommend. It took a while for Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel to come back to his senses. He felt a little embarrassed and said immediately, this devil fruit is of great importance. I have to escort it back immediately. Tian Lei secretly smiled, but he didn't show it on his face. After all, he had to save some face for Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel, then I'll give it to you. At the same time, he handed a copy of the Devil Fruit illustrated book to Flying Squirrel. The Lieutenant General came to him and whispered, I don't know if the Navy headquarters has this thing. If it does, it will be nothing. If not, then the value is still higher than these 3 devil fruits. Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel has been in the Navy for a very long time, and he knows that there are some things that it is better not to know, even if he is a Lieutenant General. After taking it, he immediately put it into his arms carefully. Although this thing was only what Tian Li himself said, people who can take out 3 devil fruits will not make a fuss about it. After all, the credit is great enough. It would be great if it were true. At the same time, I couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that I had accidentally gotten into trouble. I hope I can return to the Navy headquarters safely. After Lieutenant General Flying Squirrel left, Nokijao, who was in charge of directing the transportation of things on the ship, also came to the naval station. What Nokijao was carrying was naturally the wealth that Tian Li got from the evil dragon, and he carried it all to his real warship. On the strong number. Nokijao was left in charge because she couldn't wait to transplant a few orange trees to Tian Li's captain's cabin. Afterwards, facial paralysis also arrived with Bartle Romeo and Desire. In this way, Captain Tian Li, Navigator Yukata, Swordsman facial paralysis, combat ability person Kabi, compatibility person Arita, and 2 younger brothers Bartolomeo and Desaya, as well as the cook Najajao. 8 companions have arrived. Tianli looked at the serious Bartolomeo and Desaya, and couldn't help but glance at the paralyzed faces. It seemed that this guy must have taught them a lesson. Tianli knows what kind of character they were in their previous lives. Tianli, okay, 7 people are here. We are partners now, but there are still some people who haven't met each other yet. Let me introduce myself, starting with myself. Tianli, my name is Saka Tianli. I am 16 years old. I am a Commodore of the Navy headquarters. I am good at iron block, shave, moonstep, swordsmanship and domineering among the 6 naval styles. Kirby, domineering. Tianli, let me introduce myself first. I will talk about domineering in a moment. As the first person with facial paralysis to follow Tianli, he was naturally the first to stand up. Fujiwara Yan is 22 years old, a major in the Navy headquarters, and a swordsman of the It style. Yukata is 20 years old. He is a colonel at the Navy headquarters, a navigator and a user of the animal type, cat fruit, and lynx form. He is good at shaving, finger guns, and paper painting among the 6 naval styles. As soon as Yukata's words came out, Bartolomeo and Desaya couldn't help but glance at Yukata. They really didn't believe that such a delicate woman could be stronger than this big pervert like facial paralysis. However, not everyone can be a colonel at the Navy headquarters, and it is impossible without matching strength. Even the paralyzed man glanced at Yukata in surprise. He didn't expect that after going out, Yukata would become an esper. Kibi is 14 years old, a captain of the Navy headquarters, a superhuman crystal fruit user, and he is good at nothing but abilities. Still learning physical skills and swordsmanship. After that, he also showed off his ability and made some crystals in his hands. When Kirby introduced Bartolomeo, he was surprised again. This man was younger than them, already a captain of the headquarters. Desaya, on the other hand, looked at the crystal in Kirby's hand with bright eyes. I couldn't help but feel shocked when I saw it. Sure enough, women like this kind of thing, except for Arita. He glanced at Arita Tianli and thought. Arita is 26 years old, a marine, a superhuman type with the slippery fruit ability, good at hitting hard. When Arita was good at attacking, everyone was dumbfounded. What does it mean to be good at hitting hard? Isn't it just more powerful? Moreover, the strength is only suitable for those ordinary people, and it really is nothing in front of Tianli and the others. Nokijao is 17 years old and a chef. He doesn't know anything except cooking and planting fruit trees. Tianli smiled and said to Nyakigao, it's okay. I will let Yukata and Menpeng teach you physical skills and swordsmanship. After that, you can practice whichever one you like. Nyokijao was embarrassed and lowered her head, okay. Finally, Tianli looked at Bartolomeo and Desaya, and they immediately understood. Bartolomeo was the first to stand up. Bartolomeo is 15 years old, a superhuman barrier fruit user, and is learning swordsmanship from Major Fujiwara. But at the end of the sentence, he was obviously low-spirited and his voice was much softer. It seems that he didn't learn swordsmanship well. Tianli couldn't help but think. Desaya is 15 years old and is a swordsman. He is currently learning swordsmanship with Major Fujiwara. After saying that, he looked at Bartolomeo with contempt. Bartolomeo was so good-looking. My teeth itch with hatred. Hearing Desaya's words, Tianli couldn't help but look towards Fang Peng. He only smiled slightly at Tianli and nodded. Tianli almost thought he saw it wrong. There was an expression on this paralyzed face. It seems that the qualifications of this Desaya swordsman are quite extraordinary. Tianlei was never stingy with his own people, so he took out the sharp knife Piao Shui and handed it to Mianpeng. Then he said to Desaya, this is the Piaoxiu and the 52 skills of Liang Kui Dao. Now I put it in the hand of your captain. When your sword skills are recognized by him, this Piaoxiu will be yours. Desaya's eyes immediately lit up. This is a famous sword. It almost makes me drool. Tianli looked at the 6 people in front of him and said, okay. Now we are all partners. We must help each other in the future, because from now on we are a whole. The 6 people couldn't help but nodded after hearing this. Tianli, now let me allocate. Now we are divided into 2 teams. The first team is captained by Navigator Yukata, and the players are Kabi and Nakajao. The second team is captained by Swordsman Facial Paralysis, and the players are Desaya and Arita. Bartolomeo followed me, the first captain taught me physical skills, and the second captain taught swordsmanship. A year has passed, and Tian Li and all his partners have grown significantly. Tian Li's domineering energy can already cover half of the body, and can also be used on top of swordsmanship, or even at the same time. Rorozoro has also perfected the one sword style, and has used the 6 styles and fishman karate like a fire. With the blessing of the devil fruit, Yokota learned all 6 moves, and developed some extended techniques under the guidance of Tian Li. In fact, Tian Li only talked about the moves he saw CP9 in his previous life. Chapter 39 Smoker Who Can't Escape. Facial paralysis not only passed the sky thunder to him, Rorozoro can use all the one sword style freely, but also developed his own one sword style sword moves. He has already made a solid progress on the road of swordsman. The first step. The most unexpected thing is Kabi. When Tian Li was explaining the haki to them, this guy discovered that he had awakened the haki of knowledge and information during the battle with Xiao Bei, and he had practiced quite well during this year. I have given up on physical skills, but my swordsmanship is pretty good, and I can already use it in a decent way. I am about to come into contact with the mirror of cutting iron. And I have developed a lot of big moves with my fruit ability. Arita was so gifted with weapons that she couldn't learn any moves other than smashing them with her staff, which once gave her a paralyzed face and a headache. However, his talent in physical skills is not bad. He has learned fishman karate and the iron block, paper painting and arashi kick in the 6 postures, and he can already use them freely. This thing immediately became the nemesis of all those without sharp weapons, unarmed and domineering in close combat. If anyone attacks her, her slippery skin will slide away. And her attack is quite good, she is the master of hitting people unilaterally. Bartolomeo's physical skills are pretty good. He also learned the 6 style attack and finger spear. Under the guidance and inspiration of Tian Li, his fruit ability is much stronger than in his previous life. Now he has barrier defense and 6 style attack. The Lord who only beats people. Dezaya is a swordsman genius. He has reached the realm of cutting iron a few days ago. Rorozoro's one sword style can also be used freely. Among the 6 styles, he only learned how to shave, but he can't do anything else. Can be said to be a pure swordsman. Of course, Liang Kui Dao Piaoxu has already reached her hand. The cook Nakajao is also a genius in physical arts, but maybe she doesn't like fighting very much, so the 6 postures she learned are also quite speechless: shaving, moonwalking and paper painting. At least he couldn't hit anyone and there was no problem in escaping, Tian Li comforted himself. Host Sokka Tian Li. Strength, 2000, with the strength of an ordinary person, you can attack with 1 strength. Speed, 3000, normal human speed. Defense, 5000, an ordinary person's defense can withstand an attack of 1 force without being injured. Physical skills, unknown fishman karate, beginner, navy 6 forms, top. Swordsmanship, Fujiwara Yan's improved pseudo Rorozoro's one sword style, top. Marksmanship, none. Devil fruit abilities, none. Overlord color domineering, none. Armed color domineering, intermediate. Knowledge color domineering, no. 50%, 100%, 200%, 400%, 1000%. The bounty system prompts that the hosts of Overlord color haki and Wisdom color haki have not yet awakened and cannot be viewed. After reading his own data, Tian Li estimated that he should be at the top among CP9, plus his own. With his sword moves and super defense, it is estimated that only Rob Lucky, the boss in CP9, can fight him without domineering. If you use the intermediate level of domineering, you will probably be squeezing them. In this way, you will be almost the top of the major generals, and you can even fight with the lieutenant general. Based on his own data, Tian Li estimated the strength of his partners. Yokota and facial paralysis are relatively strong among major generals, and they are fully capable of fighting CP9 and the others. Kirby, Bartolomeo, Dezaya and Arita have also gained the strength of colonels, and they are not far away from becoming major generals. As for the cook Nyaki Gao, alas, don't ask for too much, since it's more than enough to protect yourself. She wants to escape, and even if the lieutenant general wants to take her, she will feel a huge headache. Tian Li couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Her great physical talent was really wasted. It seems that I can only change her slowly in the future. But now I am quite troubled, that is, I don't know what excuse I should use to leave the East China Sea, and I can't tell the Marshal of the Warring States period that I have had enough fun in the East China Sea. Can you let me go to the Grand Waterway now? Although strength and potential are also very important assets in the world of One Piece, as long as you have strength and potential, superiors and subordinates will not be too clearly distinguished, but there is no clear distinction between superiors and subordinates. Especially since you have the strength of the old monster garb. As the saying goes, God does not follow people's wishes, but this time, God really did. Yukata walked in at this time. Commodore Tenli, Marshal Sengoku of the Navy headquarters is calling. When Tianli heard this, he immediately took the phone call. Hello, Marshal of the Warring States. I am Brigadier Tianli. Phone bug, Tianli, you have been in the East China Sea for more than a year. In this year, there has not been a decent pirate in the East China Sea. This is all your credit. Now you are promoted to Major General and stationed in Ala Kingdom of Bastan. There is a lot of information in this sentence. The first one was promoted to Major General, and the second one could finally leave the East China Sea and go to the Great Waterway, but why did Mao have to garrison the Kingdom of Alabasta? Isn't this the country of Princess Nefertari Vivi? There is a big trouble here. Crocodile, one of the Shishibukai, is making big moves there, and it is inevitable that he will confront him. Now I am not his opponent, but fortunately I know his weaknesses and can still do something about it. As for the fact that there hasn't been a decent pirate in the East China Sea this year, how is it possible? But the people in the East China Sea who let Tianli manage live and work in peace and contentment, there is a guy with the same temper as Luffy, but he can't find a place to show his talents. That was Portgas d'Ace. He went to sea not long after Tianli swept away the pirates in the East China Sea. He didn't make any noise along the way, so naturally no one knew about him. Tianli, who will be stationed in Rog Town. Phone bug, the headquarters has sent Colonel Smog over. His strength is more than enough to garrison the East China Sea. You don't need to hand over to him. Go and garrison the Kingdom of Alabasta right away. Tianli is a little strange. Why are you in such a hurry? I happened to go to this troublesome country, so I couldn't help but ask. May I ask, Marshal of the Warring States. Why he suddenly asked me to garrison the Kingdom of Alabasta? Such a big country should have been garrisoned for a long time. At the same time, he felt sorry for the general. Smoker paused for a moment of silence. Sure enough, it was you, a miserable guy, who came to garrison Rog Town. It seems that you are destined to suffer such a disaster. I can't stop you even if I want to. Chapter 40. A bounty is placed on one of my marines? Warring States, the Major General stationed there was seriously injured and returned to the Navy headquarters to recuperate. Someone recommended you to me. As soon as I thought about your strength, I decided it was you. What? Don't want to go? Tianli said it was such a coincidence. Only a ghost would believe it. It seems there is a problem here, but as long as you are strong enough, you are not afraid of any conspiracy. Besides, if you are afraid of this or that, then don't mess around in the world of One Piece. Tianli immediately said, I said just ask, I will make arrangements today and set off tomorrow. Early the next morning, Tianli took Yukata, Mianpan, Kabi, Arita, Bartolomeo, Desire, the cook Najiko and the original 500 sailors to the Kingdom of Alabasta in the Great Channel. Let's go. Half a month later, Tianli and the others passed the Red Road and entered the Great Channel. Tianli, Mianpan, Kabi, Bartolomeo and the two masculine women, Arita and Desaya, went to the Great Channel every day. Except for practicing. It was by the swimming pool at the bow of the ship, while drinking Shennian rum and eating snacks made by the cook Nakajao. It was like having a banquet. Yukata and Nakajao were either swimming in the swimming pool, or setting up a sun umbrella and sunbathing. Tianli and his gang are living like gods. But on this day, their fairy-like life was broken. The first person to react was Kabi, the owner of the domineering power of the world. Major General Tianli. Kabi shouted, and at the same time he winked at his friends. After a year of getting along, they already knew each other very well. Tianli asked Kabi, how many people are coming? Although he can also feel that someone is coming, this is just the intuition of a strong person, but without the usefulness of seeing and hearing domineering, he can clearly feel who is coming. Quantity. Of course, there are some special people who cannot sense it, such as those who have a domineering power that far exceeds Kirby's, and some people who know special ways to hide. Kabi raised his eyebrows and said, there are 3 people on the left and 2 on the right, but they don't seem to be in the same group. Everyone stopped eating and drinking. Yukata and Noki also put on their clothes, and everyone was ready. After all, we were already in the Great Channel, so we had to be careful. After all, his own physical strength is not very strong. The 2 people on the right appeared first. They flew up from the right, That's right. Their tool is an umbrella. This way of appearance made everyone except Tian Li wary. After all, this way of appearance made him look like a devil fruit user. There are several ability users among them. Naturally, knowing the power of ability users, they naturally did not dare to be careless. But Tian Li smiled, and he recognized these two people as soon as they flew up. They were senior cadres of the Baroque, Limited Undersand Crocodile, Mr. 5 Explosive Fruit Power User and Miss Valentine Light Fruit Power User. Being able to fly up is the ability of Miss Valentine's Light Fruit. Their arrival was unexpected. After all, he was going to garrison the kingdom of Alabasta soon. Yasha Crocodile will definitely know what he is capable of, so he will naturally send someone to test it out. As soon as Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine came up, they found that everyone was staring at them. They were startled. How could they? They had never encountered such a situation, but they recovered immediately. They believed in their own strength. They were all devil fruit users. Tian Li looked at Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine and shook his head. These are explosive fruits and light fruits. And they are not ordinary powerful. The explosive fruit and the explosive fruit of Gladius, a senior cadre under Don Quixote da Flamingo, must be the same series and type of devil fruit, but the difference in strength is too far. As for the fluttering fruit, it is even more powerful. Think of Jinchai's fluttering fruit and Navy Headquarters Admiral Fujitora's gravity fruit. But they are all the same type of devil fruit, so you can imagine how powerful this type of devil fruit is. How many people in the past life thought that the exploding fruit and the light and fluffy fruit were not worth it? What a shame! At this time, the three people on the left also came up. They climbed up. All three of them were burly men, all dressed in black. It was obvious at a glance that they were not good guys. As soon as these three people came up, a funny scene happened. Before Tian Li's group could say anything, the two groups started fighting. I heard Mr. 5 say quite arrogantly, "You idiots, I have my eye on this Major General's head, get out of here now, or I will take care of you as well." The three men in black showed no sign of weakness. "Mr. 5, Miss Valentine, your Baroque working group is indeed very strong, but our bounty working group is not bad either. This Major General Tian Li is in the underground world. There is a high price of 8,000 million yuan, it is impossible for you to take it all for yourself." Tian Li and the others were quite speechless. They had all gathered aside, as if they were ready to watch the show. When they heard that Tian Li was offered a reward of 8,000 million by the underground world, they couldn't help but be startled, and then they all laughed. "Bartolomeo, boss, I really didn't expect you to be worth so much money." Bartolomeo, as time went by, his original ruffian personality was revealed again. Of course, the same goes for Desaya, who is also the top tyrant of Rog Town. She smiled coquettishly like a female gangster. "Boss, it seems that you are blocking other people's way. This is to treat you like a gangster. The roadblocks have been cleared." Although Desaya is a bit of a rogue, he has a very good mind and he immediately saw the problem. After all, Tian Li is the top genius in the navy. Even if the underground world places a bounty on him, he has to weigh it carefully. After all, doing so may make the navy anxious. Desaya could think of it, and Tian Li could of course think of it too, but apart from offending Sand Crocodile, he didn't seem to have offended anyone. Oh, by the way, there is another one, Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan, but just because his junior was beaten up by him and robbed a warship, he risked offending Akainu to do it to him. This seems impossible. But who is that? Who else have I blocked? Tian Li actually thought that he had just been promoted to Major General, and he couldn't help but think that he had snatched someone's promotion spot, right? If that were the case, he would be shot while lying down again. Tian Li is not a troubled person, so he stopped thinking about it when he couldn't figure it out. Finally, he sighed, "I, a navy man, was actually offered a bounty, and the reward was 8,000 million. With this 8,000 million bounty, I am going to be hunted down, but I am so happy." Like and subscribe for more videos like this.